A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
In just a moment, Autolite presents Suspense with John Garfield.
Hello, Mr. Wilcox.
Well, hello, Mary. Where's Hap tonight? Anaheim, Azusa, or Cucamonga?
Oh, no, Mr. Wilcox. He's giving a speech at his club tonight. He was scared to death, too. Didn't know what to talk about.
Well, why doesn't he talk about those bang-up, bonus-built Autolite stay-full batteries? Why, by Cornelius, he could talk a whole evening about them. For Autolite stay-full batteries have got something that practically eliminates a major cause of battery failure. You know what it is?
Why, sure, they have...
No. Now, please, don't steal my thunder, Mary.
Oh.
Autolite stay-full batteries have an extra-large liquid reserve, which means, in plain old Wilcox language, that Autolite stay-full batteries need water only 3 times a year in normal car use. Why, by Cornelius, everybody ought to get an Autolite stay-full battery. They'd be enthralled, enthused, and thrilled.
And thrilled? Oh, no, Mr. Wilcox, but shh, here comes Suspense.
Suspense. Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations bring you radio's outstanding theater of thrills. Starring tonight, Mr. John Garfield in Anton Leader's production of Death Sentence, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
It's hard to tell where it first started. It was 6 months ago that I nabbed a killer, Maxie Dunn, and cashed in $15,000 in reward money. Sure, I knew that Maxie worked for Lou Cromwell, but the killing was a private affair, so I didn't think Lou would be upset. Right after I got the killer, I took a small job that meant going to Brazil. But the trouble started before then. By the time Maxie Dunn was arrested, the chips were down and the wheel was already spinning. Anyway, that's how Lou Cromwell would put it, and Lou would know because he knows his gambling. He runs the gambling in this town, along with a lot of other things. I hadn't been back in town 10 minutes when I ran into Brad Cummings, local columnist, in front of the Region Hotel.
Well, you're back in town. How are you, Tommy?
Hello, Brad. How's the column?
Oh, great. Don't even have to write it anymore. I'm reusing last year's stuff. Say, Tommy, I'm just going to a cocktail party in the hotel. Come along.
Whose party?
Lou Cromwell's.
He'll be surprised to see me.
Oh, you'll love it, Tommy. Come on.
Okay, let's go to your party. What do you say, fella? What do you know?
Well, it doesn't look like Lou's shown up yet.
Well, what's he celebrating?
Well, he hasn't said yet. Say, why'd you come back, Tommy?
Why shouldn't I? It's a nice town.
Sure, except when Lou Cromwell doesn't want it to be.
Meaning?
Oh, nothing much. I'm only a columnist, Tommy. And like I said, I'm using last year's news, so I'm still interested in Maxie Dunn.
Oh, it's a dull story, Brad. The cops couldn't find Maxie, so the widow of the guy he killed hired me. I dug up a tip on Maxie's hideout and brought him in. There happened to be a $15,000 reward, so I had myself a custom-built vacation. I guess I was just born lucky.
Lou may think you ought to die the same way.
I can take care of myself. Besides, why should Lou worry about it one way or the other?
Well, you have done some work for him.
Oh, sure. I'm a private investigator. I work for anybody who'll pay me as long as the job's on the level. And those I did for Lou were, too.
You don't have to argue with me, Tommy. But I told you a year ago not to get mixed up with Lou. A man has to pick one side of the fence and stay there. He can't play on both sides.
I don't know, Brad. I've done pretty well at it.
Until now. But Maxie was Lou's right hand, so I don't think he liked it.
So he didn't like it. In the meantime, I'll...
Tommy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hello there, Muggsy.
Tommy, Lou wants to see you.
Lou? Well, how did he know... Okay, never mind. Where is he?
Not here. He wants to see you across the street in his office.
Oh. Well, let's go. Back in a few minutes, Brad. Have a drink for me.
Sure, Tommy, sure. I'll drink to your health.
How are you, Lou?
Hello, Tommy. Nice to have you back with us.
Nice to be back, Lou. Seems to me you heard pretty fast about me being in town.
You know how it is, Tommy. People drop in here and gossip, and I hear things. Sit down.
Thanks.
Cigarette?
Sure.
Have a nice vacation?
Good enough.
I guess you're just naturally lucky, Tommy. A long vacation and 15 grand to spend. Now me? I didn't get a vacation. I had to work pretty hard, and it cost plenty trying to save Maxie Dunn. And now it's very inconvenient finding someone to take his place.
Well, if you're offering me the job, I'm not interested.
I'm glad to see you haven't changed. But seriously, Tommy, you shouldn't have turned Maxie in.
Oh, I'm sorry I inconvenienced you.
No, it's not only that. You know how it is in this racket. Either you keep rolling sevens and stay on top, or you're on the bottom. It don't look so good for me to let one of my boys take a rap.
Oh, he had it coming.
Possibly. Maxie was dumb to pull that personal job. But if I let you come in and grab off my boys, somebody will start thinking that Lou Cromwell is slipping.
Oh, I never thought of that, Lou. What's the pitch?
Now, let's see. Maxie goes to the gas chamber in 7 days. That's just how long you have to live, Tommy.
What? Lou, you're punchy.
Maybe. But you and Maxie are going out together.
Now, look.
You've got 7 days, Tommy. No more. You can take care of the job yourself then, or we'll handle it for you when the time's up. Play it your own way.
I could get the DA in my corner.
I don't think so, Tommy. You and I have just had a friendly talk. Nobody's made any threats. Besides, you won't win playing that way.
Maybe. And maybe there are other ways to play.
Not this time. You know, I like you, Tommy. Ordinarily, I'd even like to see you win. But once in a while, the house has to rake in a few chips to stay in business.
Yeah, but you better tell the house man to keep his foot off the brake. I'm playing to win, Lou.
I knew you would. That makes it more interesting. I get tired of playing with plain suckers. Well, I got a party across the street. Care to come along?
I've already been there. It's not much of a party.
It'll get better. I'll see you around, Tommy. Don't start brooding about the 7 days. Make the most of them. Oh, you need any money?
No, thanks. I'll make out all right.
Good. Go out and have some fun. It's a great life, Tommy, as long as it lasts.
For Suspense, Autolite is bringing you Mr. John Garfield in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Say, Mary, let me tell you about a most wonderful experience I had this afternoon.
Why, sure, Mr. Wilcox.
Well, I drove my car into a nearby service station, and the attendant, new man, you see, he said, check your battery, mister. Well, by Cornelius, this is the chance I've been waiting for ever since my grandfather traded his horse for a Stanley steamer.
Dear.
Young man, I says, that gorgeous hunk of battery you're looking at is an Autolite Stay Full. Why, that Autolite Stay Full battery hasn't needed a drop of water for months. And I'll bet you a $40 fedora it doesn't need water now any more than a goldfish needs a raincoat.
Did he take your bet, Mr. Wilcox?
I should say not. Bub, he says to me, you can't trick me. I'm an Autolite dealer. Well, I'd rather bet a barrel of bucks on a three-legged horse than bet an Autolite Stay Full battery needs water. What's more, says he, that Autolite battery is built to last longer than batteries without Stay Full features. It's got oversized electrical capacity, plus fiberglass insulation, and it's one of over 400 automotive, aviation, and marine parts made by the Autolite people in their 26 nationwide plants. Chew on that a while, mister. He says to me, imagine the nerve of this guy, Mary, stealing my sales talk. Me, Harlow A for Autolite Wilcox.
Well, you just go feel sorry for yourself, Mr. Wilcox, while I listen to Suspense.
And now, Autolite brings back to a Hollywood soundstage Mr. John Garfield as Tommy Cochran in Death Sentence, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Seven more days to live. I wouldn't admit it to Lou, maybe not even to myself, but it was almost that simple. Sure, I could go to the police, but I didn't have any proof that Lou was out to kill me. And I knew that sooner or later, no matter where I went, one of Lou's boys would catch up with me. As I rode down in the elevator, I kept remembering one of Lou's gang who turned state's evidence once and got off with 3 years. 10 days after the guy checked into the big house, he was knifed to death in the prison yard. And they never found out who did it. That's the way Lou operated. Patient, deadly. Well, there wasn't any point of making plans with a guy like that. I'd pretend to follow his advice about having a good time. All I could do was keep on my toes and watch for an opening.
Main floor, sir. This is as far as we go.
Oh, thanks. It's about as far as I go, too. I didn't know just where I was going for the first stop. But sometimes it's better if you just play it off the cuff. I guess I was still thinking of the next spin of the wheel as I walked out of the building. I didn't even notice the taxi standing at the curb of the...
Hey, why don't you look where you're going?
I'm sorry. I hope I didn't hurt your traveling case.
No, but I thought you were going to stumble right off the curb.
I guess I was thinking... Say...
What?
Yeah, beautiful.
Well...
I hope you'll live forever.
Thanks, I'll try to.
Yeah, if you find out how, let me know, will you? Where you going?
Huh? Well, now, really?
No, I mean the traveling case there.
Oh, to Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara, huh? Well, that's not a bad idea. Tell me something. If you had just 1 week, where would you go?
Well, I do have about a week, and I'm still going to Santa Barbara.
All right, honey. Thanks for the idea. Maybe I'll run into you again.
You must...
that guy bothering you?
Oh, hello, Muggsy. Look, will you be a darling and help me bring these bags up to Lou's office?
I threw a few things into a bag and headed for Santa Barbara. Seemed like a good place to wait for that opening. Lou would never think of me going to a pleasure resort so near. Anyway, 3 hours after I left Lou's office, I was on a plane bound for Frisco. That's right, San Francisco. When I got there, I rode around for an hour and a half in 3 different taxis, then caught another plane out for Salt Lake. From there, I swung back to Santa Barbara, checked in at the Swank Ocean Club Hotel. I was pretty sure I'd shaken anybody who may have been watching me. I could count on maybe 2 days before Lou's boys caught up with me, and by that time, I might have a plan. I wandered around on the beach a while, keeping my eyes open for the other reason I had picked Santa Barbara. And then, when I went inside, I saw her, sitting there at the bar. It was the same girl, and she was alone.
Well, I beg your...
Hello there.
Oh, it's you. So you did come to Santa Barbara.
Well, you told me, remember?
I only suggested that...
Yeah, I know, I'm kidding. Mind if I join you?
Please do.
I'm Tommy Cochran.
Tommy Well, hello, Tommy. My name's Helen Ludlow.
Helen, huh? Maybe it's silly, but I was feeling like a kid in the wrong schoolhouse. Until I saw you sitting there. I know that sounds like the usual...
No, I know what you mean. In fact, I felt the same way.
Good. So now we're both happy.
I guess we are. Are you here on vacation?
Not exactly. I retired yesterday. What about you?
I guess I retired, too, in a way.
I've seen you somewhere, Helen, but I just can't remember.
Probably in a show. I'm a dancer.
Sure, that's it. And Top of the Roof last fall.
Bad guess. That was my kid sister. She had a second lead in it. I'm strictly chorus.
Strictly chorus? Mm-hmm. Well, you need a new manager. How about having dinner with me tonight and we'll talk about your career?
Well, I don't know if I... All right.
Good. It's a date.
Look, Tommy, we met each other entirely by accident, but suddenly we're friends. I mean, really friends. At least, I feel that way.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Go on, Helen.
But we don't know anything about each other, and that's the way it's got to be. I won't ask any questions, Tommy, and I can't answer any. If we keep it like that, then maybe everything will be all right.
Okay, it's a deal.
I don't even know why I feel this way.
Tell me if you find out.
After all, I'm not a kid 16 years old. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I've known a couple of girls myself.
What are you doing this afternoon, Tommy? Would you like to go horseback riding?
Horse? Why, sure, why not? I've never been on a horse, though, but you can always pick me up.
Then it's a date.
Sure. How would you like a drink first?
That's a wonderful idea.
A drink to the present. No past, no future. So Helen and I rode horseback in the afternoon, had dinner together, and then danced until early morning. It was great, except that it's hard to be with a girl like that and not talk about the future. I wanted her in my future, only I didn't have any. Maybe she sensed it. I hadn't seen any of Lou's boys. I kept looking around trying to spot them, thinking maybe the guy next to me might even be the one. I kept trying to forget them, and it wasn't too hard with Helen around. She was someone I'd been looking for all my life, and now maybe I'd found her too late. Every minute had to count, and I was still waiting for an opening. I got up early the next morning. Helen and I were going riding before breakfast, and for once I wasn't thinking about Lou and his boys until I walked across the lobby of the hotel.
Hello, Tommy.
Huh?
How are you?
Ah. Hello, Lou.
Keeping awfully late hours, Tommy? Or else you're up early?
Maybe a little of both. What are you doing here, Lou?
Checking in. I just got off the plane. But don't let it bother you, Tommy. You still have 4 days left. By the way, what room are you in?
425.
Now, that's coincidence. They gave me 427. You can knock on the wall whenever you get lonesome.
I won't get that lonesome, Lou.
Well, you never know. Anyway, let's not talk shop. Why not enjoy ourselves? While we can.
All right, why not? They tell me it's fatal to worry. I didn't see him again that day. Helen and I took that ride, went swimming in the afternoon, and then drove down the beach for dinner. The next day was about the same, except we ended up at the hotel for dinner and dancing, of course. Funny, I'd never cared much about dancing before.
You know, you're very good at it, Tommy. Even terrific.
Dancing?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I used to be a gigolo.
Tommy, did you really?
Yeah, no, I'm kidding, Helen. I've been a lot of things, though.
Yes, so have I.
Anything besides wonderful?
Everything but that. Things have been rough sometimes.
It's that kind of a world. It may not look it in a place like this. Soft lights and white tablecloths, nice clean people eating nice clean food. But down underneath, it's still rough.
You can forget it, though, while the music keeps on playing.
Yeah. How long are you planning to stay in Santa Barbara, Helen?
About a week. You?
A week? Why'd you come?
I can't tell you. And please don't ask me any questions, remember? Let's enjoy it while we can.
Yeah. Well, let's eat.
Oh, I wish it would last forever. I mean this week.
Maybe this is forever, honey. Here we are.
Oh, thanks, Tommy. What's this? You didn't order champagne, did you?
No, they must have made it. Oh.
I sent it over, Tommy. I thought you might like it.
Nice of you, Lou. Thanks.
Well, do I get to meet the lady, or are you starting to hold out on your old friends?
Helen, this is Luke Cromwell, Miss Ludlow.
How do you do?
You two make a lovely couple. You both seem to be having a lot of fun out there on the dance floor.
That's right, we were.
I'm glad to hear it. Have all the fun you can while you're here. Life's too short to waste any of it. Don't you think so, Tommy?
Well, 3 more days went by. I was still on my toes, but nothing had opened. I was like a fighter whose opponent wouldn't come out of his corner. I spent every minute with Helen. We weren't kidding ourselves any longer. We knew this was the biggest thing that ever happened to us. We'd both been kicked around a lot and made mistakes and played the game on a bluff, trying to get things we thought we wanted. And now we knew we had what we wanted. Only I knew how long it would keep. And there were times when I thought Helen guessed it. Maybe it was because she didn't ask any questions, as though she already knew the answers. Finally, it was nearly noon of my 6th day. I had a date for an early lunch with Helen, so I walked down the hall to her suite. I guess I was about 10 feet away when her door opened.
All right, honey. We'll leave it that way. Just see that you deliver in 2 days.
Thanks, Lou. I'll try to. Tommy.
You haven't changed rooms, have you, Lou?
Tommy, it's all right. I knew Lou before I came here.
That's right, Tommy. Helen and I are old friends.
Oh? I thought I introduced you.
That was just a little idea of mine. I've got to run along now, Helen, unless Tommy has something he'd like to talk over.
No, Lou, just run along real fast.
Take it easy, Tommy. It may not make you live longer, but you'll be happier. See you around.
Would you like to come in, Tommy?
Thanks. All right, let's have it. How do you happen to know Lou Cromwell?
Oh, Tommy, doesn't everybody know Lou or know of him?
Yes, but you know him. How come?
Well, I was a dancer. I met him somewhere. You know how it is.
Yeah, I know how it is. Why didn't you tell me the other night when he sent us the wine?
He obviously didn't want me to, and I don't see how it mattered.
What did he mean before about you delivering in 2 days?
Tommy, I can't tell. Why don't you leave it that way? I can't answer questions.
You've got to, Helen. You know how I feel about it, yeah, and I thought you felt the same way.
Oh, Tommy.
It's too late now for that no-question stuff. I don't have the time. You've got to answer.
Please, try to understand, Tommy. I came here in the first place because of Lou, because he forced me to.
What do you mean he forced you?
Because of my sister.
What are you talking about?
It's true, Tommy. She's just a crazy kid, and she got mixed up in something. Lou could make it tough for her if he wanted to. I mean really tough.
Okay, so he forced you to come here. Why?
To do something I didn't want to do, but that I had to.
What?
I can't tell you, Tommy. I didn't want to. Believe me, I have to, and that's all.
All right. I believe you.
Oh, Tommy, I guess we're the kind of people who never win, no matter what.
Helen, I've done some pretty foolish things, been around a lot.
I know what you mean.
But it's never been like this. I've never been in love with anybody before like this.
Oh, that goes for me, too.
Will you do something for me? Something important?
What, darling?
Marry me tonight.
Tommy,
Please, honey.
I don't know.
What do you say?
I never wanted anything so much. And I ought to have just one thing I want. We both ought to. All right, Tommy. Tonight.
We were married at 8 o'clock with a hotel musician playing Oh Promise Me on a pint-sized organ. And then Helen went to her suite to change for dinner. At least that's what she thought. But I had a different plan. I was going to make my own opening and take her along. Oh, I ordered the dinner all right and made a big noise about it in the dining room, and then I went straight to my room. A charter plane was already warmed up and waiting at the airfield, and I had a taxi at the rear door of the hotel. This was going to be a fast break, and I wasn't even taking any luggage. Nothing, except Helen and me, and a .38 automatic strapped on under my coat. It was about a half hour later when I finally went down to Helen's suite to pick her up. She didn't answer, so I tried again. The door was unlocked. Helen? It's Tommy, Helen. She wasn't in the sitting room or the bedroom, so I finally opened the door to the bath. I looked around, but she wasn't in sight. And just as I started to leave, she fell. She'd been propped up in the tub behind the shower curtain. But she fell out, hitting with a horrible limp sound. She was dead. Strangled. I stepped out and pulled the bathroom door shut, using my handkerchief to wipe off the knob without even thinking. I didn't feel anything, except maybe a numbness that still hurt. Lou had seen how I felt about her, so he'd done this, or had it done. I tried to brush the fog out of my eyes and think not about her lying in there, or what might have been. No, I wasn't even thinking about my 7 days. I had something else on my mind. Finally, I stepped out into the hall and started for Lou Cromwell's room. But I had only gone a few steps when I heard two guys coming, and they sounded like cops. I stepped into the hall linen closet and pulled the door shut.
Some guy calls up and says this dame was just been killed, and we'd find the killer still there. I don't know.
I got it then. Lou had not only killed Helen, he called the police and said I did it. It didn't take long to reach his room.
Oh, it's you, Tommy. I thought it was one of the boys.
No. It's me, Lou.
I'm a little surprised at this visit, Tommy. Where's your new bride?
Why'd you do it, Lou?
Oh, you've already been there then. I thought you'd stick around longer after you found things.
So the cops would get there?
Well, something like that, maybe.
You didn't have to do it that way, Lou. Not to her. Why'd you do it?
You mean you don't know? You should have gone back to that party with me last week.
Why?
Because then you'd have found out about my surprise, Tommy. I made the announcement that I was going to marry Helen Ludlow at the end of the week.
So that's what you were forcing her to do.
Oh, let's just say that I proposed and conditions were such that she accepted. When I got here, she wanted a couple of more days and I gave it to her. But today, she double-crossed me and married you. 2 double crosses. You can see the position that put me in, Tommy. It's bad for business.
Tell me, Lou, did she know about me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, she knew. I guess she thought the 2 of you could break the bank.
Sure, Lou, you had to do it. But you made some mistakes. You made one with... Well, what's the gun for?
Oh, I just feel more comfortable holding it this way, Tommy. Don't let it bother you, though. Go on. What were my mistakes?
One of them was not thinking I'd come here to your room and find you alone. But the big one was when you killed Helen. You shouldn't have done that.
Well, now, Tommy, don't let it get you down. Maybe I can fix it.
It's too late now. We've all had our last chance. The way you'd put it, the bets are all down. And the wheel's starting to slow up.
Well. Maybe you can tell me what number it's stopping on, Tommy.
Sure, Lou. The house takes everything.
What?
It's already stopped on 00. Hello? Desk clerk? I'm a stranger in town. How do I find the chief of police?
Thank you, John Garfield, for a splendid performance. Mr. Garfield will return in just a moment.
Mr. Wilcox, you look all out of breath. Did Suspense get you?
Me? Out of breath? Why, I only need 3 breaths a year in normal Wilcox use.
What?
I mean, Autolite Stay Full batteries need water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
My, I'm glad you got that straightened out.
Well, friends, here's something I'm really straightened out about. If you mean to make the most of your next battery buy, if you want to practically banish one cause of battery failure, then hie yourself down to your nearest Autolite dealer bright and early tomorrow morning and get your car a brand new Autolite Stay Full battery. Why, your friendly Autolite dealer will be downright delighted to put a wonderful, dependable Autolite Stay Full battery in your car. Don't delay. Get your ding-dong daisy of an Autolite Stay Full battery right away. And friends, remember, Autolite means batteries.
Stay full batteries.
Autolite means spark plugs.
Ignition-engineered spark plugs.
Autolite means ignition system.
The lifeline of your car. And now, here again is Mr. John Garfield.
It's been a great pleasure to appear here tonight with this great cast of suspense actors. And I'm expecting almost as much pleasure next Thursday when radio's outstanding theater of thrills brings you Ann Blythe and Edmund O'Brien and Muddy Track, another gripping study in...
Suspense.
John Garfield will soon be seen starred in the Roberts production Force of Evil, presented by Enterprise Studios and released through Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Tonight's suspense play was written by Lou Lusty and Les Crutchfield, with music composed by Lucien Morawek and conducted by Lud Bluskin. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. In the coming weeks, Suspense will present such stars as Rosalind Russell, Agnes Moorehead, and Ronald Coleman. Make it a point to listen each Thursday to Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills. And next Thursday, same time, hear Edmund O'Brien and Ann Blythe in Muddy Track.
Autolite Suspense show. Drive as if your life depends on it. It does. Good night. Switch to Autolite.
This is CBS, where 99 million people gather every week. The Columbia Broadcasting System.
Obler's play. A story in the night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Arch Obler. Tonight I fully expected to bring you the story of another world, a play full of roaring rocket ships speeding through space, bringing the people of our Earth to new adventures on other planets. And then I began to think, why go out into interstellar space for a story of another world, when here on this Earth, within ourselves, there are other worlds, the other beings we might have been. Here then is the story of another world within our own.
In a cell of the death block of a southern penitentiary sits a woman weeping. It is a cold, dismal, dreary night. Outside, a chilling rain beats endlessly against the small barred window. Inside, alone, a young girl kneels beside her prison cot, talking softly in the dark.
I couldn't help it, Mother. I couldn't help it. It wasn't my fault. Oh, please believe me, Mother. There's no one else I can turn to now. You'll understand, won't you? If you'd only been alive, you could have helped me. And now, somehow, I think you're close. Listen to me. And I want to explain to you. Tell you everything that happened. Remember the boy next door, Bob. He was only 10 when you died. Poor Bob, he was so happy that night. Father had just announced our engagement. We'd had a big crowd at the house. Everybody was so happy and gay. And afterwards, when everyone had gone, Father went inside the house. And Bob and I were alone in the garden. Oh, it was so warm and lovely.
Happy?
Uh-huh.
So am I. It's going to be wonderful, Joan, just us two.
Just us two.
I could hardly wait for the rest of them to go. Blame me?
I love you, Bob.
I can stand it, honey. Why were you so scared when your dad got up to make the announcement?
I don't know. I just... Oh, let's forget it.
The blushing bride.
No, really, Bob, it wasn't anything.
Come on now, tell her, Robert.
Please, Bob.
Darling, that's love. I want to know everything you think and everything you feel, even before...
No, you mustn't. Don't ever ask me things, Bob. Please. You've got to promise.
Joan, what's the matter?
Nothing. Only... Well, it isn't good for anyone to know so much about anyone else.
Oh, go on. I know all about you already. You're the loveliest, sweetest girl a man ever loved.
Keep your arms around me, Bob. Like this, always. Everything's all right when you do that.
Is it? Ah, gee, the whole world seems different tonight. I mean, there's a kind of singing in the air. You know sounds, honey?
Bob.
Yes, Joan?
Bob, do you ever... I mean... Well, does it ever happen
What are you trying to ask me, honey?
Oh, I don't know.
Come on now, what's on your mind?
Well, do you ever hear things?
Well, sure, that's what I was telling you. Listen to them singing. Crickets and the frogs.
But I don't mean that, Bob. I don't mean from the outside. I mean, do you ever hear things from the inside?
From the inside? Well, no,
If I could only explain, it's not like a voice, and yet maybe it is a voice, only there isn't any sound. It's like something that wants to be born, and...
Oh, darling, what are you talking about?
I don't know. Somehow all evening I've had a feeling inside of me as if...
As if what, sweet?
As if Oh, it's nothing at all, I guess. I've just been running around too much, that's all.
I'll say you have. So strangely nervous, I've noticed it in the last few days. What is it, Joan? Can't you tell me?
Well, I'm not sure. Oh, please, Bob, let's not talk about it anymore. Hold me close. It's getting so chilly.
I'll get your coat.
No, Bob, I don't...
Won't take a moment, Joan. I'll be right back.
Hurry, dear.
Joan.
What?
Joan.
Who is it? Who's calling my name?
Joan.
Where are you? I hear you. You're close by, but I can't see you. Please, where are you? You're frightening me.
I frighten you. So, now you know where I am, don't you?
No. It can't be true.
It is true. I speak from within you.
No. No, it's someone speaking from the outside. Someone trying to frighten me. I won't listen to you.
Yes. Cover your ears.
No,
Yes, you still hear me.
In my head.
Yes, in your head.
Madness.
You little fool, it's reality. Stand where you are and listen. You must.
In my head.
Yes, in your head, that's where I am. And that's where I've been all these years.
The two of us.
Yes, the two of us living in the same body. Your white body. You've known I was there, haven't you?
No.
Oh, yes, you have. I've fought with you all your life. You've wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. You felt me struggling within you, but you haven't dared admit that I was there. But now, at last, I've found words. Only you can hear them in your own mind, but they're words, and they'll give me the world that belongs to me. Listen, you, I've waited a long time for this. A long time. You've got to let me live.
Live?
Yes, live. Live. Speak words that others can hear. Do what I want with this body I live in.
Oh, no.
I've wanted to live so much. I've fought in the darkness so long. At last I've fought my way through so that you can hear me, but now I want more. Much more. I want to have all of the body. You hear me? All of it. You've had it so long. It's my turn now. Listen. You've got to give it up.
Give up?
Yes, you simple fool. Stop repeating my words. I want you to give it up. Your body, your mind to me. In the end, you'll have to anyway. I've grown stronger month after month, year after year. I've always been you, without words. But now you hear me. You've got to give up your body, your mind to me. It'll be easy. Just give up. Give up struggling against me.
Oh, no.
I will win. I will. I've waited so long until you were tired. That simple little mind of yours tired. And now I won't go back into the darkness. I'll thrust you out. I'll live. I'll live.
Joan, honey. What is it, honey? What's happened?
Oh, close it up. Close it. And that's the way it was, Mother. The first time. That was the first time I heard her. She was in my mind, Mother. Right in my mind. I could hear every word. It was madness, and yet it wasn't madness. It was really happening. Oh, the terrible days that followed, Mother. That horrible woman inside of me. Carmen, she called herself. Fighting me every moment, wanting me to... Well, I didn't quite understand her. To stop resisting her, I guess, so that she could come alive in me and do what she pleased with me. At first, I was too frightened even to struggle. She made me think such horrible things, Mother. Father and Bob couldn't understand what was happening to me. They used to spend long hours together talking over what had happened.
Mr. Andrews, I tell you, Joan has changed.
Now, my boy, calm yourself. Everything will come out all right.
We've got to do something, sir. Why should someone as sweet and gentle as Joan suddenly turn into... I tell you, I can't stand it.
But my boy, what can we do? I don't dare call him a physician. He might say...
Yes, I know what you're thinking. But she's not insane, sir. Don't even think of it. Joan is not insane. It's a strange sickness that'll pass itself.
Yes, Mother. I used to hear them through my bedroom door. Long hours of talking whether I was sane or not. And all the time that horrible woman inside of me, threatening me, telling me that they'd put me away in an asylum unless I listened to her. Taunting.
Yes, I tell you, that's what they're doing. Talking about you out there. Saying you're insane. You hear me? Insane. Insane, that's what they're saying. Insane.
Oh, good. I'll tell them the truth.
The truth? You little fool. Who'll believe you? A mind within a mind. Who'll believe you, I say? They'll put you in an asylum for life. You hear me? An asylum for life. You know what that means? Yes. Weep, you little white-faced fool. But that won't help you. In an asylum, that's where they'll put you. Walls around you all your life. Better to be dead, I tell you. Better to be dead.
Yes, I'd rather be dead tonight.
Then listen to me. Let me take over. Let me live. It'll be so easy. Just don't fight me anymore. You will do that, won't you?
No. Never, you evil thing. I'll never let you.
You will. You will. You will.
That's what I told him. I'd never let her have me to do what she wanted, never. But she kept after me, Mother. Day after day. Oh, I couldn't stand it any longer. And in Father's eyes, I began to see the thought of insanity. And I was so afraid. So very afraid. And she kept after me. Hour after hour. Taunting. Threatening.
You little fool, listen to me, I say. You must listen. Oh, what's the use of burying your head in the pillow? You know you'll never hear me no matter what you do. You'll always hear me. I'm in you. In you forever. You hear me forever.
Oh, why don't you leave me alone?
You fool, I can't leave you alone. I can't. I want to live. I've wanted life so long. You've got to let me have it.
I'll go to Dr. Bean. I'll tell him everything. He's my friend. He'll help me.
No, doctor. You little fool, no doctor. They'll put you in an asylum, I tell you. An insane asylum.
I don't care. Anything to stop this madness. You.
No, you can't go to anyone. A bargain. That's what I'll make with you, a bargain.
Bargain?
Yes, that's what I'll make with you, a bargain. I'll give you your freedom. Freedom, do you understand? I'll never talk again. You won't even know I'm here inside of you. You'll be just as you used to be. You'll be alone if you go away.
Oh, I thought you meant if I could only trust you.
You can. You can. Leave this house. Go away. Far away to a new town. Start a new life. I'll leave you alone if you do. Only go away. You've got to go away.
A new life. Yes. Yes, a new life. I'll go away. I'll go away. And so I took the money you left me, Mother. I took it and I ran away. Until at last my money was gone. And I found myself in this city. Unknown. 1,000 miles from home. But happy. Because I thought I was free from her. Yes, Mother, I was free from her. All the time on the train, not a word did she speak at my head. Not a single thought. And then for a week in the city, she was gone, Mother. Completely gone. And I was so happy. With the few dollars I had left, I got a room, and then I got a job, and I said, oh, dear God, at last I'm free again. And then I began to get lonesome. Lonesome for Bob. Maybe wanting him so much was what finally brought him to me. 3 weeks later, he finally found me.
I don't care why you did it, Joan. It doesn't matter now, just so I found you.
I've been so terribly lonesome, Bob.
We're going home.
I can't, Bob.
Why not?
I can't, that's all. You've got to believe me.
But I don't know what to believe anymore. You keep on saying that you still love me.
I do love you, Bob. I'll always love you.
Why don't you want to go back with me?
Because I've got reasons, I tell you. You wouldn't understand.
But how can I? You won't give me a chance. You're not even giving yourself a chance. You don't belong in a place like this. You belong with us, with your dad, and with me. We love you, Joan. We want to take care of you. If it's something you've done...
No, nothing like that.
Well, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, we'll make it right. If you'll just come back with me.
Don't ask me, Bob. Don't ask me anymore.
I love you, Joan.
Then do what I say. Please, if you really love me, go away and leave me here. Go back. Go back alone. Please, I'm begging you, Bob. Because I love you. Because I love you.
You love me and I love you. I think we've had enough of this nonsense. You listen to me, Joan. I'm going downstairs and I'm going to pay your bill. And we're going to pack your things and we're going to catch the next train. We'll have no argument about it.
No, Bob. Bob.
Joan.
No.
Joan.
Just come back.
Yes, I've come back.
But you said you wouldn't. You promised me. You said you wouldn't come back if I went away. You lied. You lied to me.
You lied to yourself. You knew I'd go wherever you went.
You cheated me.
As you cheated me through all these years. But I'll live now. I'll take your place with Bob.
But you can't do that. You don't love him.
How do you know? Why, you little white-faced Puritan, what do you know about love? What do you know about life? What will you ever know unless I teach you? Don't worry, though. You'll learn in time. I'll take over this slim white body of yours. I'll make you burn and freeze and sing and cry. I'll make you crawl in the mud and dance in the skies. I'll teach you. I'll teach you, Joan.
I won't let you. I won't. I don't want to let you.
film.
I
Don't say it, darling. I know. You want to go home. Straighten things out in that funny little head of yours. Not a chance, lady. We're not waiting for anything now. Come on, let's get to work on these bags.
I warned you, Joe.
There's no time now, honey. The train leaves in 40 minutes.
I said I'd destroy you, Joe.
You know, for the first time in my life, I enjoyed packing. That might never happen again.
Kill him.
What did you say?
Kill him.
Don't look so scared. Pass me those things on the dresser.
Kill him.
You know, I just figured out why I never enjoyed packing before. I never tried it when I was happy.
On the dresser, Joe.
Anyway, Joe.
Pick them up. They're sharp. Hold them tight, Joe. Tight.
All about these last few
He's not looking. Raise your arm.
Like
higher. Higher.
So darn happy.
Now.
We'll always be.
Right.
Yes, Mother. Dead. Dead. But I didn't do it, you understand? I didn't do it. It was she. She pounding in my mind. She made my fingers hold the scissors. She made me... Oh, Mother. Mother, you do understand, don't you? She wanted to destroy me. And that's the way she did it. And then the trial. What could I say? What could I do? Who would believe me? She didn't come back anymore. She was satisfied with what she did. She was waiting. Oh, that trial. Lawyers talking.
I say to you, gentlemen of the jury, that never in the history of this community has a more...
Doctor, was I sane? Was I insane?
No doubt of it.
Doctor, more doctor.
I'll stake my professional reputation on that.
Testimony, evidence, prosecution, defense, people talking, Oh, Mother. Mother, what I've gone through. What a horrible thing she's done to me. I can't cry anymore. There's so much to tell you. There was my lawyer. The judge appointed him. I had no money, you see. You see, Mother, I didn't tell them my right name. I didn't want the newspapers to print it so that Father would find out. They don't even know about me now, Mother. It's best that way, don't you think so? Oh, yes. I was telling you about my lawyer. His name was Eric. He was very kind. He tried so hard to help me. So,
John, listen to me, John. Why don't you let me help you? Tell me everything there is to tell.
Oh, please.
But the trial's almost over and things aren't going well for us, you know.
What difference does it make?
But, John, it does make a difference. It makes a difference to me. Oh, my darling, look at me.
Eric.
I want you to live, Joan. I want you to live, if not for your own sake, for mine.
It's too late.
No, it's not too late. This is a sudden jury. You're a woman. Given the slightest reason to doubt, and they'll never convict you. But if you continue this silence, you will die, Joan. And I don't want you to die. I don't want you to die.
He was in love with me, Mother. Such a fine man. In love with me, who could never know love because of her. Then the last day of the trial. In all those days, she'd never talked to me. Gone, silent. Eric, made a speech to the jury. He said that if I killed the man, there must have been a good reason for what I did, a reason I couldn't tell even to him. Oh, Mother, how could I tell him of her? That horror within me. Then the jury went out. Oh, such a long time. Eric was very pleased. He said the longer they stayed out, the better.
The jury's been out almost 6 hours now, Joan. It's a good sign.
You've been very kind, Eric.
Joan.
You.
What is it, Joan?
Nothing, Eric.
No need to worry, Joan. They won't convict you.
Joan, what's the matter? You're so pale.
The jury's coming in.
The jury. Look, darling, they're smiling.
You'll live, Joan. You'll live, and I'll live with you.
Joan, I think we did it.
We'll both live, Joan. We'll live for Eric. No, not him. He loves you, doesn't he? We'll take care of him. First it was Bob. Now it's Eric. Then... I won't let you. I won't let you.
Joan, what is it? The jury looks...
Both of us, Joan. With Eric. I won't let you. I won't let you.
Joan!
We, the jury, find the defendant not...
Stop. I did it. I killed him. I killed him.
Please, Joan. Time, miss.
Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Maketh me to lie.
They're leading me from the cell, Mother.
Leadeth me beside
The corridor is long and dark. I'm not afraid to die, Mother. I'm not afraid. When I die, she dies too. Her evil dies with me. That's why I'll die happy, Mother. Happy. Another door, Mother. Light. Gallows. I can't be afraid, Mother. I can't. She dies, too. We walk upstairs. The gallows platform. I'm smiling, Mother. Smiling down at all of them, looking up at me down here. I'm smiling, Mother. I mustn't be afraid, Mother. I mustn't. She dies with me. The evil of her. I will not die with you, Joan. You will. You will, Carmen. I'll be close to you. Higher in you for all eternity. You'll hear me for all eternity. I might have had life, but for you hear me, life. And you stole the body from me. For that I'll never give you peace. Never, never. His hand is on the lever. In a second, the trap beneath your feet. But no peace for you, you white one. Never, never.
The law is satisfied.
You were wrong, Carmen. Evil one. You were wrong. Now there is peace.
Tonight's play was especially written for radio by Art Obler and featured Betty Gard in the dual role of Joan and Carmen. Included in the cast were Hester Sondergaard, Frank Lovejoy, John Brown, Arnold Moss, and Gilbert Mack. Next week we will bring you 3 short plays of children and their ways, with the cast including Mr. Ray Collins and Sidney Lumet. Art Obler's plays are presentations of the National Broadcasting Company.
The legend of the Kruger millions. There is something about tales of buried treasure, the magic phrase X marks the spot, doubloons and pieces of 8, ancient parchment maps, that appeals to the romantic in us all. In Africa, there is a wealth of myth and legend to inspire treasure hunters. The sunken treasure of the Grosvenor, a cache of diamonds hidden by a refugee Zulu chief in Rhodesia, Portuguese gold buried near the Zambezi, the lost half of the Cullinan diamond. Perhaps the most persistent legend is that of the buried Kruger gold. Every month there is at least one news item about this hoard. and now and again we read stories of people who claim to have been there at the time. It's doubtful that any number of official statements denying its existence will ever kill the legend of the Kruger millions. August 1900. There was heavy fighting near Clip River, and the Boer commandos were being pushed back by Lord Roberts. In Pretoria, President Kruger and his cabinet were making plans to move to a new capital at Machadodorp, near Delagoa Bay. One afternoon, Umpol sent for his coachman, Johannes Swartz.
The English are coming, Swartz. They will catch me if I stay here, and I want to know if you will come with me when I leave.
Leave, Meneer the President?
We are going to Machadodorp, Swartz. I am having a special train fitted out for myself and members of my cabinet.
I will do my duty, Umpol. What is it you wish me to do?
I want 6 of my horses put on the train, but Venus and Darling are to stay so that Tansina can use them. And my best cow must be put on the train as well.
Ja, Umpol. The stable boy Willem can help me.
Goed. When you have done that, go and say goodbye to your wife. Then come back here. I want you to drive me through the town in a spider, so that everyone can see me.
Ja, Umpol. Do you know how long we shall be away for?
Not too long, Swartz, not too long. In time, we shall defeat the Khakis.
What time do you wish me to come back for you this evening, Umpol?
Swartz loaded the horses and the cow onto the presidential train. And then at 7 in the evening, he called for the president and the spider. They drove round the town so that everyone could see Umpol. Later that evening, they drove secretly to Eerste Fabrika, where the remnants of the government were waiting for President Kruger on the platform. Skalkburgers, F.W. Reitz, Bricky Elof, Manny Bradell, and the state attorney, Louis Jacobs.
Swart, come here a minute.
What can I do for you, Meneer Jacobs?
Swart, take this money, drive back to Pretoria, and go to as many of the pubs as you can. If you hear anyone suggest that the president is leaving, take out the money and bet them that he is still in town.
But, Meneer Jacobs...
Listen, do as I say, Swart. We don't want to...
Swartz did as he was told, though he spent most of the money gambling. He got back at 5 in the morning, and shortly afterwards the train pulled out. For 6 days, President Kruger and his government stayed at Machadodorp until they heard the news of the capture of Pretoria. They waited anxiously for dispatch riders to bring reports from the commandos, but they were being pushed further and further back. The presidential party moved on to Nelspruit, where a siding had been constructed for the train.
I want you to take a Cape cart, Swartz. Load all the gold I have brought with me onto it and drive to the main line. 2 of my special police, Jan de Bruin and Van Wyk, will be waiting there to help you load it onto the cattle trucks.
Ja, Umpol. What will happen to all this gold?
There are 2 lots, Swartz. Gold sovereigns, which will be used for the commandos here, and gold bars, which I shall take with me. It will be used for Boer refugees. We must pray that we can defeat the British. But if not, I shall go to Delagoa Bay and over the water.
That must not happen, Umpol.
Swartz did as he was ordered. But as the British advanced, Skalkburgers became worried that the gold might be captured. And when the presidential party reached Hectorspruit, he ordered Swartz to leave the gold bars in the cattle trucks, but to take the sovereigns in a Cape cart to Crocodile River. From there he journeyed to Leidenburg, then to Roos-Senekal, following the president as he moved his headquarters. Guerrilla warfare had now started in earnest. At Roos-Senekal, Swartz saw the last of his precious load. A council meeting was held between the leaders of different commandos, and the golden sovereigns were divided between them. Swartz later recorded,
"Now, it's no good asking me what happened to the money after that. I know the names of all the commandants, but what they did with the sovereigns, I have no idea. I saw the president just before he sailed from Delagoa Bay, and he told me that the gold bars were going with him over the water. I am still waiting for my share of the Kruger millions, but I am not one of the fools that go digging like moles, hoping to find the gold under a thorn tree in the bushveld.
That was the story told by Mr. J.P. Swartz some years ago. Now, there's no doubt that when President Kruger left Pretoria, he took with him Republican Treasury funds to finance the commandos and some gold bars. According to Dr. Kruger, then Commandant of Johannesburg, the amount was £500,000. According to Colonel Rates, son of F.W. Rates, it was only £80,000. Other, less reliable informants state that it was over £1 million. But the question is, what happened to the gold? Dr. Kruger wrote,
On August the 28th, the train continued its retirement eastwards and reached the Lorenzo Marx border. The president stood sadly in the doorways of his coach, looking over the Komati River. And thus they left the Transvaal. During the stay in Machadodorp, golden sovereigns were made, and with these we were paid our monthly salaries. In Lorenzo Marx, the full amount was paid out, and by this time I am convinced there was not much gold left.
According to an anonymous eyewitness, a woman who at the age of 80 confided her story to a local paper in 1947, the gold lies scattered on an unknown spot in the Lowveld. She was the wife of one of the Boer commandos, and towards the end of August 1900, she travelled to Nelspruit to join her husband.
The president's train had been shunted onto a sideline and was heavily guarded. But the British artillery found the range, and the Boer troops hurriedly prepared to evacuate the president and his staff. But there came a direct hit on the baggage van. At dawn, the vans were found to be wrecked. Twisted metal and smashed woodwork, pieces of glass were scattered about. The vans had been torn apart, and everything, including the gold, tossed over the veld.
In the same edition of the paper, there was a statement by old Andries Bainkies, a coloured pensioner reputed to be 108 years old, who had been Umpol's coachman before Swartz, and who accompanied the presidential train. Bainkies said,
I have seen so much money that I cannot sleep. I am sure I could find the spot again if someone would take me to Barberton. I saw 5 ox wagons laden with treasure chests crossing the Crocodile River near Barberton. By some abandoned prospecting holes the gold was buried, and the boxes were sewn in oilcloth before they was lowered into a deep hole.
But of all the tales about the missing Kruger millions, the one that has gained the widest belief is that it now lies on the bottom of the ocean. Shortly before President Kruger went over the water, a small sloop sailed into Delagoa Bay and entered the harbour under a mysterious charter. According to eyewitnesses, a number of small but heavy boxes were taken aboard and cemented to the hold. The sloop left Delagoa Bay with a new coat of paint and a new name, Dorothea. But shortly after leaving port, she struck bad weather and went down with all hands off Cape Vidal. Even the Natal government accepted this story, and an expedition was sent out to salvage Dorothea's cargo the Kruger gold that now lay on the floor of the ocean. The ship Penguin was fitted out and left with a crew of 21 hands to rescue the treasure. But she too struck bad weather and went down with all hands. Lost at sea. Not according to Karl Hens, an old German settler who came to Africa in the 1890s. Hens was a ship's chandler in Lorenzo Marx, and he occasionally acted as a private detective for the Portuguese government.
One night I was approached by the manager of the Netherlands Bank in Lorenzo Marx. He asked me for the use of 2 of my boats. I agreed to hire them and accompanied him to the harbor. At midnight, 100 boxes weighing about 300 pounds each were loaded into the boats and carried across to the German ship König. The manager told me that the boxes contained gold, and that the König was bound for Holland.
This story was denied by Mr. M. Brink, the proprietor of the Coligny Hotel. He said that after the Battle of Donkerhoek, President Kruger's coach stood for some days in front of the hospital at Waterval-Onder, where Mr. Brink was at that time a patient. One day he wandered out of the hospital into the station and met Pol.
Why the heavy police guard, Pol?
Herr Brink, the treasures of the mint and all my state documents are on that train.
What are you going to do with them?
We are waiting for a telegram from Lorenzo Marx. Soon the Gelderlander should arrive there, a Dutch flagship sent by the Queen of Holland to fetch me. The gold and the state papers will go with me on this ship.
What will you use the gold for, Pol?
To finance the Boer refugees.
The plot thickens. Was the gold buried before Pol sailed from Delagoa Bay? Did it go with him? Or does it lie on the bottom of the ocean? According to the private papers of the Republican Embassy in Europe, which were released in 1931, there is quite a different explanation. In these papers, Dr. W.J. Lates, the last representative of the Transvaal overseas, states,
The German steamer Bundesrat brought to Holland 26 boxes of gold bars valued at £840,000, consigned by members of the Transvaal government to their banking agents in Holland. These have been forwarded to the merchant firm of Arndt & Cohn.
This was before President Kruger left South Africa. But somehow the matter came to the notice of the British government, and legal proceedings were instituted at Hamburg by a handful of English insurance companies with claims against the Transvaal state. In this way, the British government hoped to stop the money being used to help the Boer refugees. Now, you might think that this was the last word on the subject, but this is not so, because according to other reports, the Bundesrat was in fact intercepted at sea by the British Navy, and her cargo, which was said to be valued at £2 million, was confiscated. A question about this was asked in the House of Commons, but the government refused to confirm or deny the confiscation of the gold. Lost at sea? Confiscated by the British? Buried in the Transvaal? Blown to pieces? Well, according to a Johannesburg military pensioner, Mr. H.W. Seward, none of these things happened. He knows, because he helped to hide the Kruger millions. This pensioner, with his brother, Mr. H.R. Seward, and Mr. J. Cordielson, travelled northwards on the presidential train. The 2 coaches carrying the gold were unhooked in the veldt and left standing on a bridge, while the rest of the train travelled on.
Your brother and I will unload the other carriage, Seward. You know what to do with this lot.
Yes, Mynheer Cornelison.
Good. We'll leave it to you.
And the young seaward, only 12 at the time, threw the gold bars into the river, while his companions loaded the contents of the other carriage onto 2 mule wagons and drove away to bury the gold in the bush. In 1952, Mr. H.W. Seward revealed his secret and said,
"My brother and Mr. Corneliuson took an oath never to reveal the hiding place, and they kept this to their death. Not another soul knew where the gold was buried. I was only 12 at the time, but I remember which way the wagons went, and if I don't get permission to look for the gold, I won't tell anyone else where it is. If I do get permission, I shall go at once to the river I remember so well."
Mr. Seward was certain that he knew where the gold was hidden, but many others have been just as certain. One of these was the notorious Daniel Swart, who, along with a man called Pretorius, is said to have unearthed the Kruger millions while on commando during the Boer War. Pretorius was never seen again. Then, in 1903, Swart organized an expedition with S.P. van Niekerk. They travelled beyond Leedsdorp and, according to Swart, discovered the gold. But he did not intend to share his treasure with anyone else. He shot his companion in the back. He was arrested and tried for murder, but he refused to say anything about the gold. If Daniel Swart did know the secret of the Kruger millions, it died with him on the scaffold. One of the most persistent of treasure seekers is Mr. J.G. Dovell of Springs, who has for several years been on the trail of the missing gold. According to Mr. Dovell, the treasure was taken by 2 ox wagons from Hectorspruit. The party was attacked by natives, and while the fight was still on, some enterprising members of the party managed to bury the treasure between 2 trees, into which they drove nails so they would find them again. Mr. Dovell thinks he's found the trees, but he's been digging the site without success for some years. Ever since the end of the Great War, there have been a succession of reports on the Kruger millions. Some fanciful, some incredible, some strangely believable.
Farmer finds wagon clue to buried Kruger millions. Mr. H. Martins, a low-felt farmer, has unearthed portions of a small horse-drawn wagon which he believes was used to transport gold. According to a story that is well known in this area, the wagon was carrying gold from Pretoria as the British forces were advancing. The wagon broke down, and the gold was buried, with pieces of the wagon used to mark the spot.
A resident of Kempton Park claimed that he had come within 3 feet of the Kruger millions. He is Mr. Benjamin van Dijk, whose quest for the treasure dates from 1932. Last month, after protracted negotiations, South African Railways Administration granted him permission to dig on railway ground in the Leidenburg area. Mr. van Dijk claims to have an old map that enabled him to find the exact spot where the treasure is buried. But his capital was exhausted after he had dug down 8 feet. According to the map, he had only another 3 feet to go.
Midnight diggers seeking Kruger gold. Mystery men hide as cars approach. These people are digging at a site beside the road between Pretoria and Silverton. Permission to dig was refused by Pretoria University, who owns the ground, but in spite of the refusal, a gang of men has started working there. This treasure seeking is inspired by one of President Kruger's guards, who stated that he had seen the treasure being buried in this area, and the story goes that young trees were planted on the spot after the gold was hidden.
And the stories still pour into the papers. Statements, denials, counter-statements, official reports, theories, legends, and pure fiction. There is, however, one other possibility that was overlooked until recently, that the Kruger millions were stolen. This story was published in the Sunday Times some years ago, and like so many of the protagonists who perpetuate this mystery, those involved remain anonymous.
A certain Republican official named X heard about the trainload of gold, and with some of his colleagues worked out an elaborate plot. Near the Shardadop, a large number of ingots would accidentally fall from the train in the dark. Accomplices would bury the gold near the track and leave it there until the search had fizzled out. Everything happened as planned. But when the war was over, and X and his associates went back for the gold, they found that someone had got there before them. To this day, local farmers wrongly condemn each other for the theft. They are wrong, because I know what happened to the gold. In 1903, shortly after the Peace of Vereniging, I moved into a Pretoria boarding house. There, to my surprise, I found that Mr. X was also a guest. I recognized him at once, although he had no idea that I knew of his plot to steal the gold. One evening, Mr. X was sitting in the drawing room, keeping his fellow guests amused with tales of the war. I wandered out onto the stoop, and then...
Hey, come over here.
By all... What are you doing here?
Keep your voice down.
Still in the police?
Yes, I am. Come with me and I'll show you something interesting.
Where are we going?
Upstairs. Come on.
My old friend from the police led me upstairs and into X's room.
Keep listening. If he stops talking, then go out into the landing and see what's happening. See this chest of drawers? Try pulling out this biggest drawer.
All right. What on earth has he got in here?
Yeah. Let's pull together.
Great heavens. Gold. Yeah, there must be about half a ton in there.
About that. X must have brought it here in easy stages.
Are you investigating this for the police?
No, for myself. X approached me and asked if I would help him smuggle it out of the Transvaal.
But you know as well as I do that X did the dirty on his friends before. It's the only way he could have got on the gold. Now be careful. I wouldn't trust him. Is it definitely the Kruger gold?
See for yourself. Look at the excise marks.
Yes, there's no doubt about it. I think we should forget about X and take the matter into our own hands. But we did nothing. Somehow X managed to sell some of the gold and left the country. A few months later, we read in the paper that X had turned up in New South Wales, described as a South African magnate who had decided to live abroad. That's the end of the Kruger gold, I said to my police friend. And since then we've chuckled whenever we read of expeditions hunting for the hoard that no longer exists.
To my mind, that is one of the most convincing stories of what happened to the Kruger millions, if they existed. According to Colonel Dennis Rates, whose father accompanied President Kruger when he left Pretoria, the amount taken by Umpol was no more than £80,000. Colonel Rates once asked General Botha how he accounted for the widespread delusion that there were millions, and the general replied that the stories of buried treasure probably arose because when guerrilla warfare started, scores of boxes of ammunition were taken out secretly into the bushveld and buried for later use by commandos. Those who didn't know that the boxes contained ammunition might well have thought that the only thing valuable enough to be buried with such secrecy was gold. Not long ago, the story that the Kruger millions were hidden in the donkey camp in Beatrix Street prompted a Pretoria citizen related to the Kruger family by marriage to publish a document that had been in his possession since the end of the Anglo-Boer War.
The undersigned, former members of the government of South Africa, testify herewith that rumors that millions of state money were taken to Europe by President Kruger, or that he took possession of the money at all, are untrue. That, on the contrary, the President at the outbreak of the war in 1899 lent the government of the Transvaal £40,000, and that this sum was never paid back to him, nor any interest on it. Signed, J.C. Smuts, F.W. Rates, and P.G.W. Grobler.
President Kruger was a shrewd man. Would he let it be known, even to members of his cabinet, that he was taking a large amount of gold with him? The more people who knew, the greater the possibility that the gold might be stolen. Is there any way of checking up on the missing treasure? I consulted my friend Dennis Godfrey, journalist, historical writer, who numbers among his many interests the study of coins.
South Africa's first indigenous coinage comprised the famous Burgers gold ponce minted in 1874 by President Burgers. It is known that in all 837 gold ponce were minted. No more indigenous South African coinage was minted until 1892, when President Kruger decreed that the South African Republic must have its own coinage, and Kruger coins, including gold coins of the value of a sovereign and a half-sovereign, were minted in Germany in 1892. In the years 1892 to 1898, the annual mintings amounted to about 1.5 million gold sovereigns in all. Further quantities of gold sovereigns were minted in 1900, but not an appreciable number. Coin collectors and dealers of today are a fairly astute lot, and they are fully aware of the numbers of each different coin minted, and have a fairly good idea of what is today in the hands of collectors. If anything like 4 million rands worth of gold Kruger sovereigns had been spirited away during the South African War, today's collectors and dealers would certainly know about it. It would mean, according to known facts and figures, that practically all the gold sovereigns ever minted during President Kruger's term of office are today hidden somewhere under a tree or beside a river or in some other place in the Eastern Transvaal or thereabouts. Of course, this is nonsense. Most of the gold coinage of the Kruger period, which was not melted down in the 1920s by the mint, is in the hands of collectors all over the world. Their holdings probably comprise at least the bulk of the gold coins minted before the turn of the century. So the coin collector of today will tell you without hesitation and with sound evidence to back him up that no Kruger millions exist in the form of gold coinage. And as for gold bars, it is known that the Kruger government was so hard pushed for money at a certain stage of the South African War that it certainly never had millions of pounds worth of gold bars.
But even this cannot be the final word. For in the 30s, it was admitted by Mr. Justice F.E.T. Krauser, an official in the old Republican administration, that he sent 120,000 ounces of gold direct to Machadodorp from the Round Mines. What became of it? Was it hidden in the bush? Cemented to the bottom of a boat? Lost at sea? Blown to bits by the British? It's a mystery that will never die. For hardly a week passes without reminiscences being published, and every so often Kruger coins are unearthed, as they were recently during excavations in Johannesburg. I should think it likely that the wily Pole encouraged all the rumours, so that no one could be sure what really happened to the gold. What became of the legendary Kruger million?
Breng mij terug naar jouw Transvaal, daar waar mijn Sari woont. Daaronder in die mildis bij die groendoornboom, daar woont mijn Sari Mare. Daaronder in die mildis bij die groendoornboom, daar woont mijn Sari Mare.
Listen. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, rated tops in popularity for a longer period of time than any other West Coast program. And Signal gasoline is tops, too, tops in quality. It takes extra quality, you know, to give you extra mileage. And Signal is the famous Go Farther gasoline, available wherever you see the Signal circle sign in yellow and black that identifies independent Signal dealers from Canada to Mexico.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
And now the Whistler's strange story. Cover Up.
As the cold gray dawn broke over the fog-shrouded coastal village of Benton Cove, death came to the big house on the hill. Moments after the chimes of the hall clock had echoed 6 times through the silent house, a door along the upstairs corridor closed quietly, and Joan Harper, white-faced, nervously twisting a handkerchief in her fingers, moved slowly down the great circular stairway. At the foot of the stairs, she stopped, looked back over her shoulder for an instant, and then hurried into the library. As she picked up the phone, placed her call with the operator, her thoughts raced back to a moment 2 years ago, to a bright, warm spring morning in the garden when David Blaine had come to her.
Joan?
Here I am, David. Over here.
Hard at work, I see.
Well, these plants certainly do need a lot of care. I don't suppose you'd be interested in some spade work, Mr. Blaine?
Well, might be.
Good. And after that, I'll have something else for you to do. The hedge along the...
Joan.
Yes, David.
I suppose you couldn't help overhearing that row upstairs.
Well, Adele's voice has a way of...
No use, Joan. I've tried to make it work, but it just won't. I'll be leaving in a day or two, moving into an apartment in Los Angeles.
I see.
Of course, there'll be no divorce. If Adele was well and strong, well, that would be another matter, but she isn't, and, well,
I know, David.
I'll do all I can for Adele, of course.
Adele has more than enough money to take care of everything.
I just can't stay on here any longer. It wouldn't be good for Adele either. You understand why I can't stay, don't you, Joan?
Yes, I understand. David.
Yes.
Nothing. It's nothing.
Yes, that was 2 years ago, wasn't it, Joan? 2 long years. Yet you remember it well, don't you? You understood then quite clearly why it was impossible for him to stay here at the house. And at that moment, you wanted to tell David that you were in love with him, too. But you couldn't. And you told yourself it would all work out for the best this way. David would go away, and there would be no divorce. Your sister Adele would always stand between you, as long as she lived. Now, 2 years later, you're placing a call to David to tell him that Adele is dead.
Hello?
David, this is Joan.
Joan, well, this is a surprise. How are you?
David, I've been trying to reach you for the past 2 hours.
Oh? Well, I was at the airport seeing someone off, you know. Just this minute got back to the apartment. Joan, is something wrong?
It's Adele. She's dead.
Dead?
Yes, sometime during the night. She shot herself. David?
Yes?
She was expecting you last night.
I know. Something came up at the last minute. I couldn't make it. I was planning to drive down this morning.
I see. All right, David. You'll hurry?
Yes. Yes, I'll leave right away.
Your hand is trembling as you replace the receiver. There's a tight, hard knot in your throat. A mere sound of his voice can do that, can't it, Joan? But there's something else. David's manner. His excuse about not coming down. And that vague feeling that has persisted ever since you were awakened by the gunshot. In that confused, half-awake state, it sounded as if there was someone on the back stairs hurrying away. But you couldn't be sure. The thought keeps running through your mind now as you wait for David, while you answer the many questions of Sheriff Quinn. And then it's all swept away as you meet David. And in the days that follow, you call yourself foolish for letting your imagination run wild. David helps with everything after he arrives. and you stand side by side at the funeral attended by a large gathering of friends, villagers. And when it's over, you walk from the family crypt down the tree-shaded path toward the road in the waiting car.
David?
Yes?
Have you made any plans about going back to the city?
No, nothing definite. How about you, Joan?
Oh, I suppose I'll stay on at the house with Mrs. Hastings.
Joan?
Yes?
Who's that man walking up ahead, the one in the trench coat?
Oh, that's Mark Quinn. He's the sheriff here.
Sheriff? I see. Rather young, isn't he?
Yes. Very capable, they say. Why do you ask?
Oh, I couldn't help noticing during the services back there. He seemed to take it all pretty badly. I've seen that look on a man's face before. Hard, drained of all color, a little angry. Yet you know he's crying inside. He was in love with Adele, wasn't he?
Yes, ever since high school. They were engaged once.
Then I came along. Is that it?
That's it.
You know, I had a hunch it was something like that. Suppose he blames me for what's happened.
Oh, of course not, David.
He didn't come around to offer his condolences.
Oh, perhaps he's going to do that now.
What?
He stopped at the gate. I think he's waiting for us.
Oh. Yeah. Yes, I think he is.
Oh, Joan.
Hello, Mark.
I don't suppose I'm the first to say this, but, well, if there's anything I can do...
Thank you, Mark. Oh, you've never met David, have you?
Hello, Mark.
We met a long time ago, Mr. Blaine. I don't suppose you remember. I was at the wedding.
Oh, I see. Sorry,
That's quite all right. Some people have a memory for faces. Others don't. I happen to have. Although sometimes it plays tricks on me.
That's so?
Take the other night, for instance, Tuesday night, the night Mrs. Blaine died. I could have sworn I saw you getting off the train here at the depot.
Oh?
Caught only a glimpse of the face. I was mistaken, of course. You couldn't have been on that train.
No, I didn't arrive till the following morning. I drove down.
Uh-huh. Well, I know you're anxious to get back up the hill, Joan. I won't keep you. Remember, if I can be of any help.
What? Oh, yes, thank you, Mark.
The fear has swept over you once again, hasn't it, Joan? The fear that points a finger of suspicion to David. And you wonder if Mark really did see David at the depot Tuesday night. Wonder if Mark actually believes he was mistaken. As you drive back to the house, you wonder, too, about the footsteps you thought you heard on the back stairs the same night. You don't want to think about it. Try to force it from your mind, but you can't. And you're afraid that what you suspect is true. That David was in the house the night your sister died. When you return to the house, you leave David downstairs in the library. Hurry up to your room. Pick up the phone. Moments later, you're talking to the telephone operator at David's business office.
I'm sorry. Mr. Blaine is out of town.
Oh, yes, I remember now. He said something about going down to Benton Cove. When did he leave?
He left Tuesday on the afternoon train.
Tuesday afternoon? You're certain?
Yes, I'm quite certain. I made the reservation myself.
Oh, I see. Thank you. He was here that night. David was here.
With the prologue of Cover Up, the Signal Oil Company brings you another strange tale by The Whistler. But first, a word about the amazing growth of Signal Oil Company from a mere handful of stations in Southern California into a coast-wide organization serving 6 western states from Canada to Mexico. That growth has in large measure been due to one policy, which Signal has followed consistently for 17 years, to make each product that bears the name Signal even better and better. That goes not only for Signal gasoline and Signal premium compounded motor oil, but also for Signal's line of fine-quality automotive accessories. For instance, take Signal's new deluxe battery. Unlike ordinary batteries, which are guaranteed for only 12 or 18 months, Signal deluxe batteries are guaranteed for a full 30 months on a service basis. And their improved all-rubber separators, the finest type known to battery engineering, make Signal deluxe batteries deliver up to 35% more power. So, whether it's long life or dependable trouble-free performance you're interested in, you'll be wise to see your Signal dealer before you buy any battery. Compare the low cost per month of a Signal deluxe battery. Compare the generous trade-in Signal dealers are now offering for old batteries. Compare their convenient credit terms. You'll see why, from any angle, today's best battery buy is the Signal deluxe battery, sold only at Signal service stations. And now back to the Whistler.
There's little doubt in your mind now, is there, Joan? David was in the house the night Adele died. You suspect the terrible reason as you wonder why he lied to you. You're afraid to think about it, afraid of what it can mean. You pace up and down the room for hours, fighting the horrible thoughts that keep creeping into your mind. Finally, there's a knock on the door. Mrs. Hastings, the housekeeper, enters.
Dinner will be ready in about an hour, Miss Jones.
Dinner? Oh, I don't...
Mr. David was wondering if you'd like to join him in the library for a cocktail before...
No, I don't think I'll come down tonight, Mrs. Hastings. I'm not feeling well.
You really should have something, Miss Jones.
I'll be all right. Perhaps after I rest a while.
Very well.
A moment after Mrs. Hastings leaves, you slip quietly down the back stairs, out into the cool night air, and start down the road to the village. You can't bear to face David now, can you? Not until you've had more time to think. You keep telling yourself it's all a horrible mistake. You're confused. That it'll all work out somehow. Then as you cross the small wooden bridge a short distance from the house, you hear someone call.
Joan? Oh, Joan.
Who is it?
Oh, hello. Out for a little stroll?
Oh, Mark. What are you doing here?
Thought I'd take in a little night air. Beautiful evening, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Going down the village?
Yes.
Mind if I go along?
No, of course not.
I'm sort of glad I ran into you.
Oh?
Yes, I've been wanting to talk to you about Adele. Of course, if you'd rather I didn't...
No, it's quite all right, Mark. What?
When you found her, you didn't touch anything. The gun, for instance?
Gun? Why, no, I didn't even notice it until later after Dr. Kempston had arrived. It had fallen from her hand. Why do you ask?
Well, there's something rather odd about the fingerprints on it. Adele's prints.
What do you mean?
The position of the prints is rather unusual. Would seem more like that gun had been placed in her hand than the hand had been closed tightly around the handle to make the print.
Oh, I see.
It doesn't seem natural to me the way the gun was held.
Oh?
But then, who knows? I guess it's entirely possible.
Mark, I don't believe I'll go down to the village after all. I just remembered something.
Oh?
I'll have to go back to the house. You go on.
Something important?
Yes. Yes, it's quite important.
Suddenly you've made up your mind, haven't you, Joan? Yes. You've got to see David right away. You've got to know for certain. You hurry back to the house, to the library. David isn't there. You go on up to his room. Knock on the door. No answer.
David? David?
You call his name softly, but sensing as you do that he's not in the room, and knowing, too, that you're glad you don't actually have to face him. Then your eyes move to the top of the bureau, to a letter addressed to David. Your hand moves to it slowly, mechanically. And even as you tell yourself that it's wrong, you take the letter from its envelope, stare at the first page, at the letterhead of Doctors Ferguson and Dunby, physicians and surgeons. You know at once that old Dr. Ferguson, executor of Adele's father's estate, wrote that letter. That isn't important, is it, Joan? It's what he tells David in the first paragraph. A brief paragraph, but so very important.
And so, David, I feel it my duty to advise you that in the event of Adele's death, prior to yours, and while a state of marriage still exists, all of the monies and property involved in your late father-in-law's estate are bequeathed to you. Oh, no. Oh, David.
Oh, Joan, I didn't know you were in here.
I thought, David, have you seen him?
I believe he's out in the garden, miss. Said something about taking a turn before dinner.
I see. Thank you, Mrs. Hastings.
You tremble as you go downstairs and out into the garden. It was wrong of you to be in David's room. Wrong to take his letter. But somehow you couldn't help it. And those words keep blurring in your mind as you walk quickly toward the rose arbor. David had a motive to kill her, didn't he, Joan? A strong one. And no matter how hard you try to fight down your fears, they persist. Suddenly, you're aware of David's voice. And you step back. Stand behind the protection of the rose arbor, listening as he questions old Ben, the gardener.
What you mean to say is, Ben, you didn't do as you were told that night.
Well, Mr. David, I didn't mean to go against Miss Adele's wishes, but I was tired. I saw no reason why I should go into town.
But all the other servants did go into town.
Yes, sir. Oh, if only we had known what poor Miss Adele was planning to do to herself.
It might have been prevented, yes. But what I was wondering about, Ben, from your cottage, didn't you hear the shot?
Yes, but I thought it was only a car backfiring.
You didn't go out, look around in the yard?
You mean there might have been someone here, Mr. David, that it might not have been suicide?
I'm asking the questions, Ben. Did you see or hear anyone?
No, sir. No, sir. I didn't...
That's all I want to know.
But I guess there could have been someone, Mr. David. I had no idea anyone even suspected...
No one does, Ben. Forget it. Forget we even discussed the matter.
The tone of David's voice frightens you, doesn't it, Joan? You draw back into the shadows as the two men start away toward old Ben's cottage. Then you turn and hurry back to the house. Enter the library, the letter still clasped in your hand. You want to read that terrible, frightening paragraph again, but David suddenly calls your name.
John! John!
You whirl around, frantically wondering if he saw you, knows that you were listening outside.
John!
Then, as you hear him coming toward the library, you remember the letter, know that you must hide it. You turn hurriedly, slip the letter behind a heavy oil painting on the mantelpiece.
Oh, there you are, John. I've been wanting to talk to you.
I was in the garden.
Oh?
David, is there anything special you want to tell me?
Why, yes. Joan, when everything is cleared up here, I'll be going away again. If I sent for you, say, in 6 months, would you come to me?
I don't know, David.
You don't know?
No, I don't, David. It seems there are more important things we should be talking about.
More important things? What could be more important than you and I? You know why I went away the first time. You must know now that I'd do anything for you.
Yes, I believe you would do anything.
What are you talking about, Joan?
David, where were you the night Adele died?
I told you. I was in Los Angeles. Joan, where are you going?
Leave me alone, David. I've got to think.
Goodness, Miss Joan. You've scarcely touched your breakfast.
I'm sorry, I don't want any more.
My dear, you simply must calm yourself. I know you didn't sleep at all well last night,
Mrs. Hastings, I'm going to drive into town. If you have to reach me for any reason, I'll be at Dr. Ferguson's office.
All right, Miss Jones.
May I help you? I'm Joan Harper. I wanted to see Dr. Ferguson. Were you a patient of his? No. But you see, he looked after my sister and handled her affairs.
Dr. Ferguson passed away last week.
He's dead?
Yes. Pneumonia.
Oh, I see.
Could Dr. Dunby help you?
No, I'm afraid not. It wasn't anything important anyway. Thank you.
Is that you, Miss Jones?
Yes, Mrs. Hastings?
Oh, goodness, Miss Jones, I didn't know whether to call you or not. But Mr. David has decided to leave. He's upstairs packing.
Packing now?
Yes, I didn't know if he discussed it with you or not. It all seemed so sudden.
I'll go up. David.
Oh, it's you, Joan. I thought you...
David, why are you going away?
I told you.
But only last night. You said you were going to wait until everything was cleared up.
Everything's as clear as it'll ever be, Joan. Look, I just can't say why, but...
Yes, David?
Well, I can't stand it around here. This house, the memories.
Is that all that bothers you, David?
Joan, I wish that...
Miss Jones.
In a minute, Mrs. Hastings.
I'm sorry, but Sheriff Quinn is downstairs. There's a man with him. He insists on seeing Mr. David.
Sheriff. Oh, David.
I'll go talk to him.
No. I want to go with you, David. We'll talk to him together.
Going down the stairs, you take his hand, grasp it tightly, reassuringly. But all the time, the fears of the past few days pound in your brain, telling you exactly what's going to happen when you walk into the living room with David to confront Sheriff Mark Quinn.
Oh, morning, Joan. Sorry to disturb you.
It's all right, Mark. I understand you want to talk to David.
Yes. Mr. Blaine, this is Joe Larkins. Oh?
You don't remember, I guess, Sheriff.
The night your wife was killed, Mr. Blaine, Larkins here was on a freight train that passed through Benton Cove on its way to Los Angeles.
It's him, all right. Can't be no mistake. He swung on the train, rode up to L.A., and hopped off.
Oh, David.
Blaine, I had a hunch all along you were in town the night your wife was shot. Now I'd go a step further and say you were in this house.
David, oh, David, tell them it isn't true. Tell them you never saw this man before.
I'm sorry, Joe. There's no use pretending any longer. He saw me all right. I was on that freight. And I was here that night with Adele.
The Whistler will return in just a moment with the strange ending to tonight's story. Meantime, since thorough scientific lubrication is even more important to your car during the rainy season, I'd like to tell you about some of the extras you get in a Signal lube job. You see, Signal dealers, being in business for themselves, do go out of their way to give you the kind of job they're proud to stand back of. That's why, for instance, they take no chances on memory when they lubricate your car. Instead, they check against Signal's factory-recommended lubrication chart, which shows every lubrication point on your car. And they use 9 specialized Signal oils and greases, so each part will have the exact type of protection it needs. But do they stop there? No, sir. Just to make doubly sure not a single part has been overlooked, they check each point again, which is why it's called Signal Double-Check Lubrication. Now, that's the kind of lube service you want if your car is to give you the long, trouble-free service that was built into it. And that's the kind of lubrication you get from friendly, independent Signal dealers. And now back to the Whistler.
It's all over, isn't it, Joan? In David's own words, there's no use pretending any longer. And you look from him to the quiet, accusing face of Sheriff Mark Quinn. There's no doubt or question. David was in the house on the night Adele died. He had every reason to kill her. You know that from what you read in the letter you hid behind the painting on the mantelpiece. It can mean only one thing. David is guilty. And then you're suddenly aware of his voice, speaking quietly, futilely, telling Sheriff Quinn another version of what happened the night he came here to see Adele.
I suppose there's little use telling it. I knew how it would sound then. That's why I ran.
Ran?
You saw me all right that night at the station, Sheriff. I came down on the train. Adele had phoned that afternoon, asked me to come. Said she'd arranged for us to be alone so we could talk, get things straightened out once and for all. When I arrived at the house, in Adele's room, she was dead.
Go on, Mr. Blaine.
I don't know whether she asked me to come here to frame me or not. Anyway, the gun was lying on the floor beside her. I picked it up without thinking. Then I realized how it was going to look. I wiped the gun off, pressed it back into Adele's hand.
Oh, David.
An interesting story, Blaine.
It's true. You knew about it, Quinn. It was all in that letter of Dr. Ferguson.
Now, wait a minute. I don't know anything about any letter.
You took it, Quinn. Knowing it would have saved me.
Dr. Ferguson's letter.
Yes.
Oh, David, what are you saying? That letter makes everything worse. Your motive.
You know anything about any letter, Joan?
Yes, I hid it. Here, behind this picture. I'll get it.
Joan, you did this for me?
Oh, I knew it was wrong, David, but I couldn't help it. I just knew you didn't do it. I hid it to help you.
Give me that letter.
You didn't read it all, did you, Joan?
I read enough.
Read the second page, Sheriff. That last paragraph.
I tell you these things, David, because of the situation existing between you and your wife, Adele, and because my most recent examination shows that she has less than a month to live.
David?
Well, I guess that does it, David. Nobody would kill someone who had only a month to live. Sorry I caused you so much trouble.
Oh, David. And I almost burned that letter.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at this same time. Brought to you by the Signal Oil Company, marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil and fine quality automotive accessories. Signal has asked me to remind you, to get the most driving pleasure, drive at sensible speeds, be courteous, and obey traffic regulations. It may save a life, possibly your own. Featured in tonight's story were Lorette Philbrand and Nett Lefevre. The Whistler was produced and directed by George W. Allen, with story by Louis Hampton and music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. Remember, at this same time next Sunday, another strange tale by The Whistler. Marvin Miller speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Good evening, friends. This is your host to welcome you through the creaking door into the inner sanctum. Come in. Tonight we're inaugurating a quiz. It's a cutthroat session called Take It or Drop Dead. To qualify, just tear off the top of your neighborhood mortician and send it to us by airmail. Now, listen to this. Here's our terror tune. If you could guess the correct title of our morbid mazurka in one scream or less, here are the prizes you'll win. A brand new 1949 stainless steel guillotine. Just the thing for whistling down your wife's overhead. And a handsome hand-tooled Florentine dagger. A knife without a conscience. And the Take It or Drop Dead Grand prize. A free, all-expense murder trial in a court of your own choosing.
Tonight's Inner Sanctum mystery, The Deadly Dummy, was written by Ed Adamson and Robert Sloan, and stars Mason Adams in the role of Steve with Elspeth Eric as Claire.
Well, let's get to tonight's shivering shindig. Oh, by the way, let me warn you, all references to ghosts, living or dead, is anything but coincidental. Ready? All right. This is what happened to a guy named Steve Pearson.
Why do you keep asking me the question? Why don't you ask Marlowe? Ask him, Inspector. He'll tell you everything.
I told you before, Pearson. Marlowe wasn't there.
He is. He's in this room, sitting right there in that chair.
That's just a ventriloquist dummy in the chair. You told me yourself Marlowe is dead.
I don't understand. That dummy is Marlowe. I can prove it to you. That dummy is alive, real.
All right. So he's alive.
You think I'm crazy?
Go ahead, Pearson. Let's hear the story, all of it, from the beginning.
It began when I went to work as Marlowe's assistant. He was billed as the Great Marlowe. The Great Marlowe. His audiences always thought he was a wonder. But they didn't know him like I did. You couldn't please him no matter how hard you tried. There wasn't a meaner man alive than Fred Marlowe. I would have quit him right at the start if it hadn't been for Claire. I only stayed because of her. Claire, she was warm and wonderful. And she was Marlowe's wife.
Ah, Steve.
Claire, you gotta come away with me.
Wouldn't do any good, Steve. He'd follow us wherever we went. You know him. He'd make our lives miserable.
Well, we can't go on this way. How much of this can we stand?
We don't have to go on this way.
What do you mean?
If you really love me...
Claire, we couldn't do a thing like that.
You hate him as much as I do.
But doing a thing like that...
It isn't hard when you really hate. When you really love.
Somebody will find out. They always find out.
Not the way I've planned it. Ground glass. Now drink it.
But how? He'll know.
No, you'll never suspect. It'll be during his act.
What?
That part where he drinks the water while the dummy whistles. You handle his props. All you have to do is put the powdered glass into the water pitcher before he goes on.
He'll pour the drink himself.
Yes. After he goes off, you can wash out the pitcher and the glass. There'll be no evidence. You do it, Steve?
When?
Giving his last performance at the Lido on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
It'll be Marlowe's last performance anywhere.
I'm on next. Everything set, Steve?
Yes, Mr. Marlowe, everything is set.
You made sure of the water in the pitcher. Last night you almost forgot about that.
It's in there now. I made doubly sure this time.
All right, Edie, let's go.
Ready, Marlowe?
Claire?
Yes, Fred?
My last performance here. Aren't you coming out to watch?
I'll be along in a moment.
I wouldn't want you to miss it. We're going to be really great tonight. Aren't we, Edie?
You said it, Marlowe. Tonight we're going to knock 'em dead.
Claire and I stood in the wings while Marlowe went through his act. It seemed like ages, like he'd never get to the part we waited for.
That's what I want to say to you.
And then finally...
Edie, talking about drinking, I'm a little thirsty myself.
That was the cue. Now he was coming to it.
Sure you won't join me?
Oh, I never touch the stuff. You go right ahead, Marlowe. I'll entertain the folks with a number while you dampen your tonsils.
Okay, Petey. Take over.
The water in the glass slowly emptied. A silent scream shook in my throat. Suddenly, I didn't want it to die. Hating him, there wasn't enough reason for killing him. I wanted to stop him. The scream in my throat begged for relief. And then I felt Claire's hand grip mine. I turned to her. Her smile smothered the cry within me. Her hand tightened and pulled, and we walked away from the stage.
Pearson. The doctor.
I sent your wife for one, Marlowe.
The pain, it feels like there's a fire inside me.
It won't bother you for long. Fire burning, cutting into me.
Pearson, I'm dying.
Yes, Marlowe, you're dying.
Pearson, help me.
Nothing can help you now.
I won't die. The doctor will save me. He won't let me.
There won't be any doctor.
What?
Claire didn't go for one.
Claire, she wants me to die. She hates me. You and Claire, you both hate me. You did this to me.
When you drank that water back at the Lido tonight, there was ground glass in it.
No.
Ground glass so finely powdered you couldn't see or feel it.
Peachy.
A dummy can't help you, Marlowe.
Peachy, I'm dying. Help me.
Well, Marlowe, you're just a ham at heart.
What?
A real ham. Don't you think so, Steve?
What is this?
Oh, that deathbed scene of Marlowe's. Right off the cob.
I thought it was quite good, Petey.
Strictly amateur night. Strictly.
Marlowe, you're all right.
You see, Petey? I had Pearson believing.
But it can't be. You drank that water. I saw you.
Yes, I drank that water.
But you're all right. It's not possible.
Marlowe, you're killing our friend Steve with suspense. Come on, give him a break.
Of course. Here you are, Pearson. Here's your ground glass.
Marlowe had known we were up to something. Somehow he had switched the container of ground glass I had bought. He let me leave his hotel room without another word. I didn't know what to do, what to expect. I waited. 3 days went by. Then he sent for me.
Sit down, Pearson. I'll be with you in a minute.
Marlowe was busy packing a trunk. I sat there waiting. The dummy, Petey, was propped up on the table, his perpetual grin mocking my fear.
Our friend looks kind of uncomfortable, Marlowe.
Really, Petey?
Why did you send for me, Marlowe?
Clara and I are sailing for South America tonight. I suppose you're curious as to what I'm going to do about you.
All right. What are you going to do?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I just wanted to tell you about Claire, Steve. She's poison.
Petey never did like Claire.
Marlowe's a sucker for that dame. I guess she never told you that she tried to have Marlowe knocked off before. There was another guy had the job before you. Claire fed him the same line.
He's lying, Marlowe.
Why don't you ask her? She'll be back soon.
Claire wants Marlowe's money, but not Marlowe. She was just using you.
Shut up.
She'd give you the go-by so fast.
Shut up, I said.
You're out of her class. She wouldn't want you in a minute.
This will shut you up. I'll break you into a million pieces.
You're a fool, Pearson. You forget there are other Peteys. After all, they're only me. Remember? So you see, the only sure way to shut them up is to stop me.
Marlowe taunted me with a sickening laughter. I couldn't stand it. I had to stop her some way. I felt along the table behind me. My hand came across the heavy glass ashtray. I gripped it tightly, then brought it up from behind. He slumped to the floor. The grin was still on his face. I bent down over him. He was breathing. I hit him again. Marlowe was dead.
You shouldn't have done that, Steve.
It was the dummy talking. I heard him. He lay on the floor. I had crushed him into 100 pieces. But they were his words, his voice.
You can't get away with murder. You'll see, Steve.
Claire, I tell you, that dummy did talk.
Steve, it couldn't be.
But I heard him. He talked to me, Claire. He talked
Steve,
to
get
me.
hold of yourself. It was just in your mind, that's all. You shouldn't have done it. If you'd only waited, we would have found a safe way. Someone's at the door.
We can't open it.
You've got to.
His body on the floor now.
Here, help me.
What are you going to do?
Put him in the trunk. Come on, hurry. All right. Now close the top and lock it. You stay here. I'll go to the door.
Marlowe's room?
Yes?
I come for the trunk, lady.
Oh, there must be some mistake.
Well, that's a trunk, ain't it? That's what I come for.
Mrs. Marlowe said you're mistaken.
Look, mister, I got an order here. See? One trunk, number 3468. That's the number on the tag of this here trunk.
Now, listen.
The order says this trunk goes to stateroom 3D on the Trigania. That's what it says. Trigania sails tonight. Now, do I take this here trunk or don't I?
Yes, I'm sorry. That was our mistake.
But, Claire.
Please, take the trunk.
Hey, lady. Hey. What do you got in this here trunk anyway? A dead body?
What do you mean by that?
Forget it, mister. It's just a gag. How about one of you two hold the door?
Yes, I'll do it for you.
Thanks, Betty.
Claire, what's wrong with you? Why did you let him take it?
Don't you see, Steve?
See what?
This is the way out for us. His body won't be found here, and we're safe. Now he's gone forever. Nobody will ever know.
No one? What about me?
Claire.
Tell her about me, Steve.
It's him. Now you can believe me.
Steve, what's wrong?
Dummy, you heard him?
Just your nerves,
No,
darling.
he spoke.
That's right, Steve. You tell her.
There he is again.
Steve, where are you going?
I've got to find that dummy. He's someplace in this room.
Hello, Steve. Looking for me?
The dummy was propped up against the closet wall. He looked at me with the same evil grin as the one I had crushed to pieces.
Steve, please stop staring that way.
I'll burn him, every rotten fiber of him. I'll burn him to an ash. Then he'll never talk again.
Steve, believe me, he didn't talk. It's just your imagination.
I'm not crazy. I heard him. So did you, only you're too afraid to admit it.
He couldn't talk without Marlowe. Marlowe would have to be alive for that dummy to speak.
What'd you say?
Marlowe would have to be alive. You know that.
Yes, that's right. What's the matter with me? Yes, he would have to be alive.
He was just your
Ben
imagination.
Marlowe isn't dead.
Oh, now, Steve, please.
He wasn't dead when you put him into the trunk. He just wanted us to think he was. I didn't kill him. He wasn't dead. That's why the dummy talked. Marlowe could do tricks like that. Come on, Claire. We've got to hurry.
No, wait.
We've got to get there fast.
Where, Steve? What are you talking about?
Marlowe's stateroom on the boat. He'll be there in the trunk. I've got to make sure he's dead. It's on this deck, Claire.
3D, there it is.
There's the trunk in the corner over there. Give me the key.
Oh, Steve, we shouldn't have come
I
here.
said give me the key.
Don't, Steve, please don't open it. He is dead in there. I know.
Give it to me. I grabbed it first and took out the key. I unlocked the trunk. Then I pulled up the lid. Marlowe was in there, motionless. When I touched him, he was cold. Marlowe was dead, all right. But there was something else in the trunk with him. At his feet. And the same grin was on his wooden face.
Hello, Steve. I knew you'd come. I was waiting for you.
Claire.
Here, Steve, drink this.
I don't know what happened to me. Everything went black.
You fainted.
You were right. Marlowe is dead. But that dummy, I heard him speak.
No, Steve, it's just as I told you. You only heard it in your mind. He didn't really talk.
Oh, Claire.
Those things happen, and now it's over, and you'll never hear it again. Can you get out?
Yeah, I'm all right now.
We've got to get off this boat before somebody sees us.
I ruined everything.
No, we're still safe. Nobody knows we came here.
You go first. That'll be the best way. I'll follow in a moment.
Yes, I'll meet you on the pier.
All right.
How do you do, man? Oh, sorry to give you such a jolt. My name is Higginsman. I'm your steward. Just stopped by so we'd know each other.
Time was against us. We were too late in getting out of that stateroom. That steward would remember Claire.
Steve, what are we going to do?
There was only one chance. With Marlowe's body in that trunk, there was only one thing we could do. I had Claire ring for the steward.
Yes, ma'am?
Mr. Marlowe and I have decided to cancel our trip.
But,
would you please have reporters come for our trunk and take it to the pier?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Marlowe, but that won't be possible.
Why? What?
Well, in the excitement, ma'am, you probably didn't notice.
Notice? What are you talking about?
Our departure. We sailed 20 minutes ago.
We had walked into a trap of our own making. A trap that was snapped closed on us by a dead man. Marlowe was a cold corpse in that trunk, but we were held by his invisible grip.
Steve, There's still a chance we can get out of this.
You mean if his body isn't found in that trunk?
We'll arrange it so his body will never be found. We'll do it tonight when the deck outside is dark and deserted. You'll see, Steve. We'll be really rid of Marlowe this time. You'll see.
We got our first break. Early in the evening, a storm came up and grew worse with the passing hours. About 11 o'clock, I made a careful check of the promenade deck outside the stateroom. It was completely deserted. We supported Marlowe's body between us and carried it toward the darkened space at the end of the deck.
In the morning, I'll report. My husband is missing.
They'll ask a lot of questions.
I'll have all the answers, the way we planned them. I'll tell them how he often gets up at night to go for a walk.
And the dizzy spell.
Yes. Another of his dizzy spells. That's how it must have happened. Another terrible dizzy spell and he fell overboard. Meantime, Steve, you'll have to hide.
I found a place in one of the lifeboats.
We'll meet every night.
Wait.
What is it?
I thought I saw somebody down that way.
I don't see anyone.
It was probably just a shadow. Come on, let's get this over with. You can help me lift him to the rail. All right. Now, push.
Gone, Steve.
Yes, Claire, that's the end of Marlowe. Now we can live, really live.
Will you kiss me, Steve?
Will I kiss you? Come here.
Oh, Steve. Oh.
I beg your pardon. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm looking for someone. I thought he might be with you.
There was no one with us.
No, we're alone.
I see. I thought I saw 3 people walk over here.
No.
It's so dark I must have been mistaken.
Yes, it is dark.
The man I'm looking for is Mr. Marlowe.
What?
Do you happen to know him?
My name is Marlowe.
Then you're the gentleman I'm looking for. My name is Ralph Kramer, Miss Marlowe.
Kramer.
Are you all right, Miss Marlowe?
Yes, I'm fine. Why?
I just wanted to be sure. By the way, I received your letter.
Letter?
Don't you remember?
No, not exactly.
Oh, I can understand. You're a busy man, Mr. Marlowe. Well, just to refresh your memory, I'm in charge of entertainment here on the boat. I found out last week that you had booked passage. So I wrote to you asking you to consent to be one of the features in our theatrical tomorrow night.
And I replied?
You were very kind, Miss Marlowe. You said yes. I just stopped by to thank you and say that we're all looking forward to your performance tomorrow evening.
Steve, you've got to keep trying. There isn't much time left.
It won't work, Claire.
It will. You know Marlowe's act. You've understudied him. You went on for him in Cleveland, remember?
I know, but I can't do it now. I can't get it.
It'll come to you, darling. Now just keep trying. Go on, Steve, please. Try again.
All right. Tell me, Petey, don't you and your girlfriend Phoebe ever have a difference of opinion?
Sure, Marlowe. But I wouldn't dare tell her about it.
Oh, you see, Claire, it's no good.
Hey, you're doing fine.
Don't tell me. I know it's rotten. Tell him I'm not going on.
Steve, it means our lives. You've got to go through with it.
Sure. You can do it, Steve. I'll see you through.
Claire.
What's wrong? What is it?
The dummy just talked, and I didn't do it. He said, you can do it, Steve. I'll see you through. You heard him, didn't you?
No.
Don't let her kid you, Steve.
There, he said something again. You didn't hear that either.
Oh, now, Steve, don't. You've got to pull yourself together.
This dame can really play angles, can't she, friend?
Yes, she really can.
Well, who are you talking to?
You know who I'm talking to. You know all about it.
Go ahead, Steve. You tell her.
You're making that dummy talk, Claire. It was you all the time.
You don't know what you're saying.
You're trying to drive me crazy. That's why you're doing it. Now I know what Marlowe said about you was true. You were just using it.
No, Steve.
You wanted Marlowe dead. You wanted his money, just as he said you were playing me for a sucker.
Steve, don't look at me that way.
Now I can see you for the first time. What you really
Don't you
are.
come near me.
You are the same evil grin as that dummy. Because that's what you are. Something inhuman.
No, stay away.
Something mean and vicious and bad.
Steve. No.
My hands gripped the fur and squeezed tighter and tighter. My nails digging deep into the soft flesh. The color slowly drained out of her face. There was a final gasp, and then she stopped moving. She was like a rag doll in my hand. I stood there holding her lifeless body. Then after a while, I heard a knock on the door.
Miss Marlowe! Miss Marlowe, it's Ralph Kramer!
Mr. Kramer? What is it?
The show started. You're out in 5 minutes.
All right, Kramer. I'll be there.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we take extreme pleasure in presenting the great Marlowe.
I sat there with a dummy on my knee and looked out into the sea of faces. All the men had the same face. It was Marlowe. The women were Claire. I tried not to look at them.
Come on, Steve.
The dummy whispered to me.
Come on. I told you I'd see you through. Let's go.
Petey, I want you to meet the folks.
Hiya, folks. That is the wedding, Steve.
You fool, it's Marlowe. Marlowe.
Who was that lady I saw you with last night?
Last night? That was no lady. That was...
Now, you're not going to tell me it was your wife. Because I know whose wife she was.
Stop it.
Sort of a deadhead, isn't she, Steve?
I told you not to call me Steve. You'll give it away.
I warned you about that dame, remember? I told you she was playing you for a sutter.
Stop talking about her. We've got to get back on the routine.
The routine, yeah. That's what she gave you.
Cut it out.
Cut it out, hey, with ground glass.
If you don't stop, so help me, I'll choke you.
How do you like this guy, folks? He wants to choke me and cut his best part off.
I'm warning you, just one more wrong word.
This will kill you, folks. Wait till you hear the story I'm going to tell you.
Oh.
And it's no joke. You think this is Marlowe here, huh?
Don't listen to him. He's lying.
You can't stop me now. It's too late, Steve.
Don't listen to him, please. He doesn't know what he's saying. He's going to tell you lies. He's going to tell you I'm a murderer, but don't believe him. Make him stop laughing. Get him out of here. Somebody make him stop, please. That's it, Inspector. That's the whole story of what happened. It was all because of the dummy on that chair there.
You give us a lawyer's name and we'll call
I don't think the lawyer would do me much good now.
That's up to you, Pearson.
I'll think it over.
Okay, Roberts, take him downstairs.
I don't suppose you'll need me any longer, Inspector?
Just one question, Kramer.
What is that?
What did you hear the dummy say that night when Pearson tried to go through with Marlowe's act?
Oh, the dummy didn't say a word. Pearson was up there on the stage, talking to himself.
Well, that closes tonight's cadaverous chapter. Poor Steve Pearson, he just couldn't help double-talking himself into a knot, the kind the hangman ties. Now he's in a grave condition. But it's his own fault, you know. His dummy done told him. You know, the real reason he killed Claire is because he figured two deadheads are better than one. Well, anyway, all's well that ends dreary. Yes, as we say here in the inner sanctum, the end always justifies the scream.
Inner Sanctum is heard each week in the United States over CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System, and has been rebroadcast for servicemen and women overseas through the facilities of the United States Armed Forces Radio Service, the voice of information and education.
Quiet, please. Quiet, please. Broadcasting System presents Quiet Please, which is written written and directed by Willis Cooper and features Ernest Chappell. Quiet Please for tonight is called Not Enough Time. Wait just a minute, will you please? I got a bus that's bringing you up. I'll only be a minute. So, that's that. That's $1,640 worth of junk. And 4 years' work. And here's a bale of notes that the editor of Astonishing Stories would give his eye teeth for. He ain't gonna get them. Yeah, that's just strictly that. No, it was a time machine. Yeah, one of those gadgets to travel in time, you know, turn it on and it takes you back 50 years and so on. You know, like Alley-Oop in the funny paper, like your stories H.G. Wells wrote. You know. Yeah, this was the dial you set for how far you wanted to go in time. And this was the decambulator. And here's a piece of the... Well, never mind what it was. It's none of your business. Sure wish I hadn't monkeyed with a time machine. Oh, this one works. Sure. That's what's the matter, see? It worked. Well, I don't want any part of time machines, not after what happened to me with this one. You can make one for yourself if you want to, and if you can, but you're not going to get any help from me. Oh, they can be made all right. Me, I'm just a bumble-fingered mechanic out of the garage, and I made one. But I'll give you my first and last piece of advice, Buster. Don't you do it. I saved up my dough, and working around the garage, I could glom onto a gadget here and there that Cliff Oswald doesn't know about. I had a lathe there and some other machinery, and I did the rough hand work there. Then when I quit and rented this old busted-down farmhouse out here on Cemetery Road, I bought some more machinery, see, some stuff with precision work and some stock. A piece of iridium from that fountain pen factory in Fort Madison, Iowa. 2 or 3 polystyrene plastics that they made for me in Harlan, New Jersey. Special crown glass prisms I have made here in town. And some other stuff. And quite a lot of other stuff. And try and find out what it was. You know, you'd be surprised how easy it is to drop out of sight in a small town. This place here is way out in the sticks past the cemetery, off on a side road that nobody's used for 20, 30 years. And I'd done all my shopping in Peoria instead of here in Pekin. And I never went downtown for anything. So, nobody knew I was here. It was just that easy. I put in nearly 4 years, like I said. And then, all of a sudden, the doggone thing worked. I was just sitting here, and I turned it on, see? Just like that, it was raining. Well, the sun was shining bright when I turned it on, and for a minute I couldn't figure it out. And then I remembered it rained the day before, and by golly, it was the day before, right then. How do you like that? Well, I stayed in yesterday for 10 minutes, and then 6, we came back, and the rain stopped, and the sun was shining again. It wasn't even damp outside. Well, I'm not going into a lot of details that you wouldn't understand if I told them to you, but the net of the thing was I decided I'd really try it. But really. And that's the story. Now, supposing you intended to take a trip back 50 years in time, how'd you prepare for it? Well, I'll tell you what I did. First, I studied an old history of Caswell County, paying particular attention to 1897, 50 years ago. So as I wouldn't make any more bobbles than necessary. I picked out a place on a map where there wasn't any trees in 1897. I didn't want to find myself hanging from somebody's apple tree when the thing stopped. Then I bought my equipment. I got me a revolver, a camera, and a flashlight. Then some aspirin, and that was all fixed. I moved the gadget out in the back lot where the map said there wasn't any trees 50 years before, and I set it back to 50 years, and I was reaching for the release when I I got a sudden fast thought. There I was, dressed in a double-breasted gray suit with white stripes and a blue sports shirt and a pair of brown and white shoes. It was the shoes, I guess. I looked down on them and I said, holy Moses, would I be a number in 1897 in this outfit? They'd throw me in the can before I could say howdy. Imagine. So I quick disconnected the machine from my wrist and put it back in the house and jumped in the car and beat it for Peoria in a theatrical costume house. Rosie thought I was nuts, but I got the rig I was looking for. How do you like it? This here brown derby's a dinger, ain't it? Even with a dent in it. And get a load of the shoes. Button. Hey, you know what? There ain't any place where you can buy a button hook. Well, anyway, you want to hear the story. I got the machine out again and set it, and I took a long breath, and I said, well, kid, hold your hat. Here we go. And I pressed the button. Heard somebody calling me. They couldn't.
You hold up your hands there, you hear me?
What? Now, look out with that gun, Buster.
Hold up your hands or I'll be forced to shoot.
Who do you think you are?
You'll find out soon enough. Keep your hands up now, you hear me?
This is a fine way to welcome a stranger, Bud.
This is the way I welcome strangers all the time. Don't give me any sass either. Who are you?
My name's Walter McCoy.
What you doing here?
I'm a visitor.
Visiting who?
Visiting, the sheriff.
Oh, you are, eh?
John Stout.
Pleased to meet you.
Huh?
I'm John Stout, stranger.
Oh, my God.
And you sure are going to visit me. Come on, march.
You see? Smart guy, me. I told you I studied that history of Tazewell counties on my head hurt. The only name I could think of when this guy popped up from behind the hedge was the sheriff. Well, John Stout marched me over to a horse and buggy, and he buttoned me to a stanchion with the biggest pair of rusty handcuffs I ever saw and said, "Get out, Queenie." And away we went to the jailhouse. And my time machine lying on the ground out there 2 miles from where I was looking out of an iron-barred window. And it was all set to come back to 1947 in just 24 hours, whether I was there or not. How do you like that? I had a very pretty picture of me getting a 50-year jail sentence and getting out of Joliet just in time to come back to the house out on Cemetery Road and pick up where I left off, only at the age of 76 instead of 26. Very pretty, huh? Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, they had me up before Judge Curran good and fast, but try as they couldn't get anything on me.
Horse stealing.
I didn't steal any horses.
Lurking and lying in wait.
Well, I was just standing there.
Disturbing the peace?
I didn't say a word.
Disorderly conduct.
Well, I said to myself, I'll buy that. It can't be a jail sentence for disorderly conduct. And I've got $300 or $400 in my pocket, and I can afford the fine, but I've got to get out of here. So I paid off $10 in costs. $11.96. Sure. Oh, I'd remember to get some old, big-sized bills, all kind of dirty, figuring they wouldn't examine the bills close enough so as I could get away if I got in a jam, you see, before anybody looked at the dates. I was the smart kid. It says here. By this time, I've got a lot less than 24 hours before the old machine takes off, and I'm beginning to get a small order of goose pimples on the back of my neck because I'm not exactly sure where the darn thing is. After all, I've never been here before except 50 years later, you see, and if I missed the thing, oh, man. I thought, though, I'd kind of case the town a little bit, so if I wanted to come back, you know. Well, I walk up Court Street a block, and there on the corner of 5th is Bill Kelly's livery stable, where Connigan's Sport Agency is now. Right across the street, practically, from where I used to work for Cliff Oswald. There's nothing but a vacant lot there. So I go into the stable and hire me a rig. Get me, hire a rig. And pay in advance, and I take off. You ever drive a horse and buggy? Man, I was all over the lot. But I got out there after the fashion. How far I thought I'd left the machine. So I tied the horse to a tree. Somebody'd come and get him, I figured, and he could eat grass. Predator horses eat grass. And I started looking. It was just a great big field, see? No landmarks of any kind. I got more and more panicky because that old clock was going round and round and round. And then I saw a hole in the ground, a big hole, dirt piled up around it, and out of the corner of my mind, I sort of remembered seeing it when I landed, when Stout grabbed me, and all of a sudden I had it. This old house I worked in was about 50 years old, and by golly, this was the foundation for it that somebody was digging. Oh, sure, I found the machine easy then, south of the excavation, about 50 yards, lying there ticking away as if nothing had happened. Oh, boy, I said. Oh, boy. I practically kissed the thing. And then I jumped about 6 feet in the air.
What are you doing on our land, young man?
Wow, there was the most beautiful girl in the world. Just the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. Red hair, no makeup, man. And I tell you, she looked beautiful even in an 1897 outfit. A brown dress down to her ankles and a white shirtwaist with big red polka dots on it. And a hat that looked like a dog's dinner. And she looked wonderful. And she pointed those big blue eyes at me and she said again,
What are you doing on our land?
And when I could get my breath, I said, Who are you, lady?
My father and I merely happen to be the owners of this land, that's all.
Well, well, lady, I'm sorry.
You're trespassing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I used to live there in that house you're going to build.
What?
I'm going to live in, my name is Walter McCoy.
Well, I'll thank you to get off our land, Mr. Walter McCoy.
Yeah, sure. Sure, I'll get off.
Right away.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, go on.
Well, lady, what's your name?
Carrie McKinstry. Miss Carrie McKinstry, so there.
Carrie McKinstry. Gee.
Sir?
We're both Macs, Carrie.
How dare you?
What?
A gentleman would address me as Miss McKinstry, sir.
Sir. Well, I'll be darned.
I don't understand you.
I said, look, we're both Macs, see? Maybe you're Irish, too.
Are you Irish?
Irish descent.
So are we.
Well, what do you know?
About what?
Hello, Irish.
Sir? You're fresh.
You're beautiful.
Take care, sir.
Hey, do people really talk like that?
What people?
You live around here?
On Analyzer Street, down near the firehouse.
Well, what you doing out here?
You ask an awful lot of questions.
Well, I'm interested.
You're a masher.
What?
A masher. Don't you try to mash me.
My gosh, Miss McKinstry, I wouldn't hurt you.
You certainly talk strangely, Mr. McCall.
Well, I come from a long way from here, see.
Are you a drummer?
No, I used to play a little piano when I was a kid.
I mean a traveling man.
Well, yes. Yes, you might say I'm a traveling man. Yes, I guess I am.
What are you doing here?
Traveling, I guess.
Well, then, you travel.
Listen, Miss McCarry, I have to wait a while.
Why?
Well,
What's that machine thing there?
It's a gadget.
Oh.
Look, I have to wait a little while, Barry. Let's you and me sit down and talk for a minute, will you?
I'm not in the habit of talking to persons I don't know, Mr. McCoy.
You know me? You just call me by name. Barry?
Why, well, what would we talk about?
Let's talk about the future. Did you ever hear of love at first sight? Yeah, I was always thought to. Did I? No. had red hair and blue eyes. Oh, I said that to her. Well, nobody's going to see her. Not me. We sat there on a pile of chairs and talked. Now, I don't know what we talked about, so I did most of the talking. I told her about automobiles and radio, skyscrapers, airplanes, I think. I think I did. And she sat there and didn't believe a word of it, but she loved it. We got along toward dark and we still sat there. And the sun was down across the river. Oh, man. Yes. I did. I forgot for a minute she was right. Oh.
I'll have you know that I'm a respectable girl.
And I picked myself up out of the dirt and shoved my jaw back in place.
Oh, Walter. Walter, did I hurt you? Oh, Walter.
And the sound of her voice came back to me. Remember when I took off on this trip? Somebody yelled at me? Then I didn't have any more time to think because Carrie had her arms around me and she was crying and kissing me. And... yeah, it sure was love at first sight. Double. Carrie McKinsky and Walter McCall. October 5th, 1800. And then she pushed herself away from me.
There's somebody coming.
What? Who? Where?
Down the road. Look.
And I looked. I couldn't miss that dapple gray mare Queenie. Even if I hadn't known it was Sheriff Stell, I could hear way down the road the gong on the dashboard of his buggy. He was heading right for the place he found me.
It's the sheriff.
Well, let me out of here.
You have to hide. Quick. Walter, hide.
Yeah, but where?
In the cellar. Jump in.
I must go down cellar one of these days and see if my footprints are still down there on the cellar floor. I drove myself right up to the knees jumping in. So I scrabbled some dirt from me and squeezed up in the corner. The machine taken away right into the machine. I heard them come in.
How do you do, Sheriff?
Oh, howdy, Carrie. Seen anything of a misprint?
A mystery.
I figured he'd come out here when I captured him before.
Captured? Who is he?
He's a doggone counterfeiter, that's all.
A counterfeiter?
Picked him up for disorderly conduct, and he paid his fine, and all the coins was dated from 1932 to 1947. 50 years from now.
Oh, no, Sheriff.
Why, goodness, yes. They ain't gonna take me in. Put him in jail for 100 years. Sure you ain't seen him, Carrie?
I waited on the dirt holding that rest. I waited 10 minutes.
No, Sheriff. I haven't seen anybody.
Well, all right. If you do, though, Carrie, let me know. Might even be some kind of reward.
All right, I will. Good night, Sheriff.
Don't forget.
No, I won't forget. You can come out now. Come on, you sinner.
Did I say she had red hair? Brother, I've been chewed out by ancestors. But Carrie, she threw the book at me. And all the time crying, that was lucky. Well, finally, when she slowed down, I started to talk. I think I was in love with her. That was day before yesterday. That was 15 years ago. So I confessed. I told her all about the machine and how I had to go back every week and be stuck here. Oh, she didn't believe me at first, but after a while, I guess I convinced her. I know I convinced her. And I told her I was in love with her. And the moon was coming. She told me she thought she was in love with me. She knew she was in love. There's a fix to being loved. What?
You can't stay here, Walter.
I guess not, but...
Walter, I do love you. I'm a shameless woman, but I love you.
You see? I looked at the machine. I had the way to count this morning. I couldn't sit there and see it all night. I said, I'll take you home, Carrie, and we can talk about it on the way. So she said, all right, and we climbed into the buggy and started back to town. You know, you can say what you want to about this world we got today, but you've never been riding along an unpaved road with a hedge fence along one side and big elm trees lying on the other side, on a grass road over in the evening, and the big round harvest moon shining down above the hills up towards Gilmore's Street, and lonesome little lights from terrace and yard shining out of windows off in the distance, and the girl on one side. That was a pretty good year they had to feel. Pretty good one. I wish we could now. Yeah, I should have stayed. But I didn't. Well, we got to the house. There wasn't anybody home. The father was a railroad man. He was out on the run somewhere in Decatur or Springfield or Bloomington somewhere. We went to the house. I'd seen a picture. She lit a kerosene lamp, and there it was. Brother, I should have stayed. Rag carpet on the floor. A pump at the kitchen sink that went ee-wow, ee-wow. Then she pumped the water for the coffee. You know, there wasn't a thin can in the kitchen cupboard. Yeah, I should have stayed. Well, we were having a little supper and talking, you know, low voice, eating pork chops and apple toast, and there was an apple pie on the table, coffee, and, well, believe it or not, in a mustache cup. It was awful nice. And there was a knock on the door.
Who's that?
And the door opened. A great big tall woman walked in. She jumped when she saw me.
Oh, well, excuse me. Why, it's Mrs. Stout. No, there's company, Carol. I wouldn't come bursting in like this. It's all right, Mrs. Stout. Mrs. Stout, this is Mr. McCoy. Nice to meet you, Mr. McCoy.
How do you do?
I've been poorly, but I'm tolerable now, thank you. You're a stranger in town, Mr. McCoy? Mr. McCoy is a stranger in town. My goodness. I've been totally, ain't he? Is your father a true son? Not like any of my business, of course, but it is a little odd. Isn't it, Mr. McCoy?
Yes, it's very odd.
Mr. McCoy is a friend of mine, Mrs. Stout. Well, I should think so. Mrs. Stout lives next door, Walter. I forgot to tell you.
I see, and Mr. Stout lives there, too.
Of course, he's up at the county jail quite a lot. He's the sheriff, you know.
Yes, I know.
Yes, you know. He's out looking for a mystery or someplace. Is he? A stranger in town.
Is that so?
He'll be home any minute. Usually he'll drop in.
Oh, well, I got to go.
Yes, Walter is in a hurry. He just stopped in for a bite to eat. Well, I'll just happen to see that rig from the big Tanner's livery stable out in front. And this guy puts that rig going out in front of the King Street. So I decided to stop in for a minute. Well, where did you come from, did you say, Mr. What was the name?
Why, McCoy, Mrs. Stout.
That's what I thought Charlie said. Well, good night. Good night.
Good night.
Walter.
I get it.
But I tried to...
It's all right, honey. If I can get out of here before Stout comes home.
She'll tell him.
You kidding? Sure she will. I want to see how fast that horse and Mr. Kelly's is.
You'll have to hurry, Walter. Oh, Walter, darling.
Yeah, I can't be dealt, honey. But I wish...
Oh, Walter, you will come back, won't you?
You bet I'll come back. And I'll make me another of these machines, and I'll come and get...
He's in there. He's right in there with Captain Gibson.
Wait, turn out the light.
Come on back, Charlie, if it is. Come on.
That door, Walter, quick.
Hear me? All right, boy.
I'll come back, Charlie. I'll come back.
Hurry, hurry.
I'm coming in there.
Just kiss me quick. Walter, I love you. I love you. Come back. Come back.
I'll come back.
Where'd you go?
Hurry, Walter, don't stop.
And I ran. Brother, how I ran. Over a board fence, and I could hear the sheriff yelling right behind me. Then the machine was ticking and ticking, and I was wishing it was 8 o'clock and wondering what had happened when I did come back to 1897, and then... And I was dodging an automobile in a street in Pekin, Illinois in 1947. Yeah. And the machine was set for 8 o'clock, and it was 8 o'clock, only 12 hours earlier than last week. So I walked on out here. I kept wondering what happened to Sheriff's stop when I disappeared. What happened to Bill Kelly's horse and buggy? And what happened to Karen McKinsey? Well, I came in the house. I turned on the light. I didn't see anybody at first, but I heard her voice. And there in my easy chair was an old man. And she spoke to me.
I wait. So, 50 years I've wasted work. And you didn't come back.
When I came to, there wasn't anybody in the house but me. Just me and a time machine. I told you this place of mine is close to the cemetery road. There's a funeral going by me right now. No, I don't mean that. It's an old lady, 74 years old, who waited and waited and waited for a sweetheart that never came back. So there's no use for the time machine anymore. She said I never came back. And she knew. You have listened to Quiet Please. It is written and directed by Willis Cooper. The man who spoke to you was Ernest Chappell. And Nancy Sheridan played Carrie. Sheriff Stout was Donald Briggs, and Catherine Meskill was Mrs. Stout. The music for Quiet Please is composed and played, as usual, by our good friend Gene Classo. Now, for a word about next week's Quiet Please, here is our writer-director, Willis Cooper.
I call next week's story Camera Obscura, which, if you understand the pattern, means dark room. You may like this story, what takes place in this dark room.
And so, until next week at this time, I am quietly yours, Ernest Chappell. Quiet Please comes to you from New York. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment. For this is a time of mystery. A time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. corpse there was.
Will you listen to me? I've got to tell it to someone, and, well, I guess you've heard a lot of strange stories. I'm Catherine Holland. It all started about a year after I come to work for Martin Reed and Stephen Corey as their housekeeper. Oh, we'd have such fun, the three of us. Martin was forever making me promise that I'd be with them always. Always. I didn't know how long that could be.
You're only joking, huh, Kathy? You wouldn't leave us. You'll stay with us always, won't you?
Not if you keep doing that, Martin.
Oh, you'll get used to it, Kathy.
Oh, but cutting your own name on a tombstone, it's positively morbid.
I don't see that. If a cobbler can make his own shoes, then surely a stone cutter can make his own monument.
Well, that's true.
After all, a man must do something with his spare time. And you, Stephen, of all people, have no right to scoff at me. Imagine a cemetery caretaker who wanders through the graveyard day and night, talking to the dead.
If the people I met outside the cemetery, my dear Martin, were as interesting as the people I meet inside, perhaps I wouldn't. Since they're our only neighbors along this godforsaken road, and since I must get away from you occasionally...
Now, look here, enough is enough.
Are we going to let her boss us around, Martin? You nearly 60 and me twice her age?
That's right. And you're 42, aren't you, Stephen?
Yep.
You know, I think for your next birthday, I'll start on a nice marble headstone for you.
Okay, I quit. I resign.
Oh, no, don't say that, Kathy. We need you, Stephen and I. Always before, our housekeepers were stout and rheumatic. You're so young. It was like all at once having the shades pulled up and the windows opened when you came. You won't leave us, will you, Kathy?
No, I won't leave you, Martin.
You promise?
I do. If you promise to take your medicine.
No, I told you, Kathy. I don't believe in that quack doctor. There's nothing wrong with my heart.
Oh, Martin, don't be stubborn.
It's not a matter of being stubborn. I know I'm perfectly all right.
How about those attacks you've had?
They were indigestion.
You don't want to take that medicine because you and the doc have been enemies for years. You won't give him the satisfaction of treating you, even if it means...
Please, Kathy. Don't you think I'm old enough to know my own mind?
But Kathy's right, Martin. You should take your medicine.
Oh, now you start. I'm going for a walk.
I'll go with you.
I don't want company.
Now he's mad.
Oh, don't take it to heart. He'll get over it.
I wish he hadn't gone out in this weather.
Yeah. I think it's getting worse. I'll go call him back.
Stephen, what's that noise?
I don't know. It was just outside the house. It's our cedar tree. That last flash of lightning struck it. There seems to be... Kathy!
What? Move away from the door so I can see you.
No, Kathy, please. Stay in here a minute. I'll go out.
Oh, I'll go with you.
I think I see something beside the cedar. Come on, Kathy.
Stephen, it can't be.
Yes. It's Martin. He's dead.
The tree?
It didn't touch him. He died from the shock of it falling so close. It was heartbreaking.
Strange, isn't it? The last tombstone he ever carved was his own. We buried Martin the next evening. There weren't many mourners. We lived too far from town to be well acquainted. At last, the few who'd come went away and left Stephen and me alone at the grave. They've all gone.
Your eyes are all red, Kathy.
Do you suppose he likes where we buried him? Right across the road from the house?
I'm sure he does. He can sort of watch us from here if he gets lonely.
It won't be us much longer, Stephen.
What do you mean?
Well, I can't stay here with just you. It isn't proper.
Kathy, you know I wouldn't...
Oh, I know, but what'll people think?
I don't care about people. They're not important.
Well, they are to me. I have a good reputation, Stephen, and I don't
Kathy, don't leave me.
Oh, but I must.
Losing Martin was unbearable, but if I lost you, I'd have nothing left.
I'm sorry, Stephen.
There'd be no one to care if I live or die. If you go, I'll be all alone.
You'll find another housekeeper.
Housekeeper? Oh, Kathy, dearest, don't be such a little fool.
I'm not a fool.
You are if you can't see how much I love you.
You love me? Oh, no.
How could I help it? You're sweet and fresh and lovely. And I never knew before what joy it was to watch a woman. Anything you do, the way you walk and laugh, even the way you get angry. It's beautiful.
Oh, keep away from me. I don't know what's come over you.
I was content just having you about the house, being near you. But now... Oh, my darling, you mustn't go away.
Oh, please don't look at me like that. Please, Stephen.
Dearest, let's get married. I'll make you happy.
No, I don't love you. Don't touch me. Oh, I like you a lot. I'm very fond of you, but... Well, it's not love. I could never love you.
Why, Kathy? I'll make you a good husband.
Oh, no, Stephen, no. You're twice my age.
But I'd worship you, Kathy, dearest.
Oh, would you quit bawling Kathy, dearest, at me like a lost lamb? I'm going to the house and pack my things.
I won't let you go. You belong to me.
I don't belong to anyone. If you don't get out of my way, I'll throw this rock at you.
There's someone else. You love someone else.
No, Stephen, I just don't love you. Don't come near me. I'll throw it, I swear.
Kathy, no!
I told you I would, didn't I? Why couldn't you believe me? Well, get up. Stephen! He was lying on his back, motionless. I bent over him and... his face, the rock had caught him between the eyes. I couldn't think. I was terrified. I only knew that Stephen was dead, that I had killed him. A murderess, that's what everybody would say. They'd put me on trial, all those faces gaping at me like I wasn't human, and then they'd... No. Had to get out of here. The road past the graveyard. If I followed it, I'd reach the main highway. I'd run. I'd run so fast no one would catch me. It was dark. The body wouldn't be found till morning. By then I'd be far away. Had to keep moving. Had to. Where could I go? Where could I hide? Flying down the road for hours and hours. Till my legs were numb and my heart tearing at my chest, deafening me with its thunder. No, that wasn't my heart. It was a car. They were looking for me. Somehow they'd found Stephen already. Oh, it was getting nearer and nearer. I slipped behind a tree. Not police. Not police at all. Picnickers. Oh, the only ones who might have seen me. They'll forget they even passed this way once they're safe at home. Safe at home. Suddenly I realized what a fool I'd been. I couldn't escape a police dragnet by running away. They'd never stop looking for me. The best place to hide was at home. Why, of course. I'd gone back to the house from the funeral and straight to bed. Stephen had decided to stay at the grave a while longer. Everyone in town knew he liked to wander through the cemetery, and especially tonight with Martin just buried. He must have caught a prowler, and the man had thrown a rock at him. That's how it happened. I felt perfectly calm. I turned around and started back. The sky had been cloudy all evening, but as I walked up the road toward home, it cleared. I remember how lovely the moonlight looked, spilling down the steps of the house. I started to climb them. Suddenly, I had an impelling desire to see Stephen's body. Oh, I tried to fight it, but the thought of him, cold and crumpled, lying like some cast-off doll in an attic, hypnotized me. I went down the stairs and started across the road. He had been lying at the foot of Martin's grave, I remembered. From where I was, I couldn't make out the body. Well, that wasn't right. The old man was buried directly across from the house. I should be able to see Stephen. I slipped through the gate, hurried to where the corpse had lain. It was gone. There wasn't a trace of it. I dropped to my hands and knees, searching about the new mound of earth for some proof that it hadn't all been a nightmare, that I'd really killed Stephen. There wasn't anything. No matted grass where the blood should have dried, nothing fallen from his pockets, not even the stone with which I'd struck him. And it was so quiet, so deathly quiet, with the moon whitewashing Martin's headstone, and the one next to it. The one next to it. But there hadn't been any grave there before. And this one was fresh. As fresh as Martin's. I slowly raised my eyes and looked at the tombstone.
Stephen Corey, born May 9th, 1901. Died April 20th, 1944.
Why, I'd know that carving anywhere. Martin was dead. But Martin had made that gravestone.
Kathy stands in the moonlight, staring at the grave plaque of Stephen Corey, a plaque identical with the one Martin had made for himself before he died.
And yet, how could Martin have carved that headstone? He had not made one for Stephen before he died, I knew that. Still, Stephen had been buried, and the date on the monument was right. I felt the answer, but I pushed it back away from my mind. It couldn't be true that Martin had kept his promise even now and had carved the stone. That these dead who were Stephen's friends had buried him. Had he loved me so he wouldn't make me pay for what I'd done? Did he plead with them to cover him so I'd not be found out? I didn't know. I was paralyzed with fright. I had to get out of here back to the house before I lost my sanity. I don't know how long I lay there, cowering in my bed. At last, the darkness of the night closed in about me, and I slept. But then, out of the darkness, the doorbell rang. Sharp sound, a streak of fear over my flesh. The police had come. Stephen's grave had been discovered. I had to go to the door.
Are you Catherine Holland? I'm Estelle Bailey, Martin's sister.
Oh, yes, I should have known. Come in, Mrs. Bailey.
Stephen sent me a telegram this afternoon about Martin's death, and I took the first train out here. I'm sorry if I woke you.
Oh, that's quite all right. Come in. I know it's been a long trip. Perhaps I can fix you a bite to eat?
No, thank you. I'd like you to take me to see the grave right away.
Martin's grave? Now?
Miss Holland, I hadn't seen Martin for 9 years. I'm ashamed of that, and I want to rectify it now as soon as I can. If you won't take me, perhaps Mr. Corey will.
Oh, he's not here. He's in town.
Well, I'll wait up till he comes in.
Oh, you'll wait a long time.
I don't understand.
Oh, Stephen was quite shocked by your brother's death, you know, and, he felt he had to get away from this house, so, he mightn't be back tonight.
But if he went into town, why didn't he meet me at the station as he wrote he would?
Well, I don't know. Every moment she sat there, she'd think more and more about Stephen's absence. I had to distract her the only way I could. I had to take the chance that she wouldn't notice that other headstone. But if she did notice it, I would have to kill her too. But just then something happened to spare us both.
Oh, good heavens. Oh, look, it's raining again.
Yes, the moon's gone in. It's pitch black outside.
Then there's no use going into the cemetery, I suppose.
I'm afraid not, Mrs. Bailey. What a shame. Finally, she went upstairs. I waited until I knew she slept. Then I took a spade and crept across to the cemetery. It was wet and cold, but I didn't notice the weather. For I had a scheme. A very clever scheme. I was going to dig up someone else's headstone as well as Stephen's and switch the two. I couldn't disguise his new-made grave, but at least I'd conceal who was buried there. It was just before dawn when I slipped back to the house. Mrs. Bailey woke me about 8, and together we went into the cemetery. I came up level with the graves. Oh, no. No, it couldn't be. Why, I'd switched them last night.
Stephen Corey, born May 9th, 1901. Died April 20th, 1944.
His headstone. Exactly where it had been before. But I had dug it up. There were blisters on my hands to prove it. Mrs. Bailey, had she noticed? No. She'd gone right to her brother's grave and stood staring at it, wiping away the tears.
I'm very glad of one thing, Miss Holland, that Martin is buried a little apart from everyone else. He liked to be alone most of the time, you know. Even in death, he would prefer solitude and being isolated from all the others.
Solitude? Isolated from all the others? But Stephen was lying right by his side. She couldn't see Stephen's headstone. It was incredible, but it was true.
Come, Miss Holland, it's raining. We might as well go now. I'll take the early train back to the city.
After she'd gone, the house was empty, yet full of a screaming silence. And I sat looking out at the grayness of the lonesome day. Had there really been a grave at all? Growing inside me was a grim fascination to see. The mud sucked at my shoes. Through the dusk, I walked determinedly toward that spot where the headstone stood. I slipped through the fence. Then I was standing beside the tree, leaning against it. For I couldn't believe what I saw. There, beside the others, stood a third headstone, and stretching almost at my feet, a freshly dug grave. Even before I crept forward to see, I knew what the plaque would say.
Catherine Holland, born June 7th, 1923, dead April 21st, 1945.
Tonight. April 21st. That was tonight. And I was still alive. Martin, listen to me wherever you are. I said I'd be with you always. But you can't force me to follow you. You can't force me to follow you. Tears filled my eyes. I took hold of the hateful stone and tried to flatten it into the ground. Then through the tears, I saw the dark bruises on my hands. Bruises on my hands, but it wasn't possible that... I touched one of the dark splotches. It rubbed away. Then the truth went through my mind. I fell to my knees. The letters I thought were carved into the stone. They too were blurred. I drew my finger along my name. It was lettered in black crayon. Thick, archaic lettering, darker toward the middle than at the edges, giving the illusion of depth. Giving the illusion of being cut into the stone. Then that's how Stephen's headstone was made. That's how. I stood up. Fear fell over me like a cold, wet sheet. Behind this adventure was a human being. A being like myself. Then I saw the thing in the grass, sending a tiny sparkle toward the dust-filled sky, and greedily I picked it up. A copper-colored metal cap from an eyebrow pencil. So that was how the letters had been drawn. That was how this thing had happened. Then I knew who had done it. And even before I turned to look, I knew she was standing there, staring at me, unmoving, a thin smile on her lips, her eyebrows thin, too, penciled on with surety and deftness.
Turn around, Miss Holland. I see you have guessed the truth.
It was you. You killed him.
But do you think my conscience will hurt me as yours does? Would it make your death any easier to know you didn't kill Stephen Corey?
I don't understand you.
I'm telling you the truth. I came into the cemetery just as the last visitor left, and I saw you throw the rock at Corey. I saw you run for the road. You hadn't killed him, Miss Holland. He was only unconscious. But I made sure he was dead before I buried him.
Then you dug the grave here. That spade in your hand.
Will serve a double purpose. I shall kill you with it.
Just as you murdered Corey. Why? Why did you kill him?
Because Martin had willed all the family property to Corey, with the provision that when he died, it would return to me. I knew if his body weren't discovered, they'd think you and he had run away together. Then I'd have to wait for him to be declared legally dead.
And so you put up the plaque?
I felt sure I could persuade the county coroner to file a death certificate quietly. Then I'd show my lawyer the grave, show him that Corey, too, was dead. But you came back, so I have to kill you, too. Now you know the truth. Your time has come.
That spade, Mrs. Bailey.
It's for you, Miss Holland.
Stay back from me. Stay back.
I'm going to kill you.
I'm not afraid, Mrs. Bailey. You're real. I can fight you.
This will be your grave, and I shall bury you in it.
Give me that spade. Give it to me. Oh, here. I said that spade. Mrs. Bailey. My eyes were crowded with flashes of blackness. I lay on the ground, feeling the cold, wet earth against my cheek. Without warning, it had happened. One wall of the grave gave way, and she lost her balance and fell forward into the gaping hole. Dirt from the mound began rolling down, clods of it covering the edges of her long skirt. And she lay still, silent, at the bottom of the grave. A few wet clods of earth were still slowly tumbling down, as if they had an intelligence of their own, an intelligence that told them to bury the dead. Bury the dead. For she was dead, and she had died instantly. Her neck twisted beneath her loosened, flowing hair that hid the hideous sight of her eyebrows, thin and long. Her neck was broken, and she lay in the grave she had meant for me. Perhaps, now I've told it, I can forget the horror of what's happened. But not soon. Not soon. One way Martin was right. In my brain, he and Stephen will be with me always.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory in the haunting hour.